G'day guys, good to see you all. Yeah, just got out of the fucking shower. Sort of dry myself off, get my coffee going, and anyway, shit happens. Yes. Good to see a lovely, colourful group of people. And for some bloody reason, StreamYard isn't telling me how many people are on, so I got no idea. That's wonderful, isn't it, of them? So accommodating. Let me just quickly check. Give me a sec, Bart. You should have got that by now. Just check your inbox. Anyway, Lukey, number one. Oh, a notification. Off to markets. See you guys in a bit. He's off to get his kibble. Happy hunting, T1. God. Frog's not capable of hunting, believe me. G'day, Balbert. It's good to see you, mate. From sunny South Australia. G'day, Scotty. Zakia, good to see you here. Oh, there he is. Put him on. G'day, mate.
Hello.
Good to see you. So casual. You've been doing more domestic work outside, cleaning up.
No, not this morning. Just been. It's just after lunchtime on Sunday, so
yes.
I crawled out of bed after a really good sort of sleep in. We went to a smokehouse last night and had the most incredible platter of all manner of meaty comestibles with bread rolls. Beautiful. Carnivore plate, it said, and it came with bread rolls. What are we going to do with those? I don't know. I'll tell you what we did with them. No, we ate the bastards. That's what we did with them. Yeah. So there was that. And it also had those fucking pickle things that you get at McDonald's.
Yeah.
It had those with it. And there was, yeah.
I do have to say that occasionally I have the occasional, like, even around a dad's or my mate's place, he puts out some pickles, and I'll have some of those pickled cucumbers or whatever. I mean, a lot of the things we do, alcohol, it's not as if it's basically species appropriate. None of that is. But at the end of the day, we live in a different food environment, and a couple of pleasures now and then aren't going to kill us as long as we don't do it make it a habit, which is what I try to remind people. As long as they're not habits, because people ask me, oh, how much alcohol can you tolerate? 0. It's a toxin. I mean, you basically, yes, you can sort of mitigate it slightly with a bit of choline to export the fat that it creates. You can actually, mitigate it slightly with the B vitamins complex because it bleeds through B vitamin complex. But at the end of the day, you know what you're getting into. Don't fool yourself any other way.
Yeah, the other thing I can tell you about alcohol, Harry, is if you drink a bottle of goo, it leads to you getting your tits out online.
Oh, that's true as well.
Yeah.
it has its utility.
Yeah.
Yes. That remind me of the things that I used to do as a teenager. Yes.
What do you mean
Anyway,
used to do? Listen to him. Used to do as a teenager.
We'll move on from all that sort of stuff. I still get
used to do.
I still walk around naked sometimes, and basically mirror Indonesian accent. It goes porno, porno that I'm a and I go, yeah, well, you like it.
Yes. Oh well. What are you talking about, Richard? What the fuck's going on here?
Let's talk about politics.
Well, I suppose it's no real shock that they're all having their own discussion in the background on a heritage.
Yeah, basically, it's nothing new. I think sometimes I think, do they actually really turn up for nutritional information or not?
Wow, yeah,
probably not. They turn up for the banter. Most of them.
You can lead a horse to water, can't you?
So g'day, mate. Oh, yeah. Search as no notifications. Some people get notifications, some people don't. And
yeah, I never get it.
All my live streams now, none of them get posted. None of them. It's been now well over, what is it now, a month and a half, and not one of them, which I actually, it makes no sense. Whether I actually put them up on the Friday night before I go to bed, or I do it on the Saturday night before I go to bed, it makes absolutely no difference. They do not appear until the I hit the live thing, and that's when it pops up. And I see, there were only 18 people, now there's 27, and it's usually by the time I'm at least an hour in, they're over 30 because people are just not getting notifications.
Yeah.
YouTube hasn't changed. It's the same shit, different day. Yeah. It's just an easy platform for me to do my live streams, which is what the majority of my content tends to be. Right. I am moving stuff over to library. I've moved half of my general sort of, clips and stuff like that. I'm going to try over the next 2 weeks because I don't have enough, followers. They don't give me the option of, being able to transfer my whole, in the normal way. I should have got in early. I didn't, so shit happens. So I'm manually now just putting them all up. And at some stage when I've got everything across, then what I'm going to do is everything will be basically first on library and second on YouTube, which will be my approach. So people will have to go to library to actually get, see, and there'll be a link. So you go to it. I'll premiere them deliberately because the premieres, they do highlight them because it's hardwired into the software. So the premieres, because that's how they promote, a lot of the other YouTube channels that are promoting goods or commercials or whatever. So they use the premiere option. So I'm going to use that to basically then do all my videos like that. So people will get the information, will be highlighted. This is where you can go and get it. An hour, let's say a couple of maybe 12 hours earlier, something like that. I was thinking half a day earlier. And if you want to see it on YouTube, you have to wait for another 12 hours to see it. So trying to force, so I'm advertising in a sense, my library, stuff, 12 hours. And people, I know what people are like. They want things earlier, so they'll go over there out of habit. So it's basically like a Pavlov's dog, conditioning of subs. Yeah. I'm honest with them, I've always said if I was to get something real awful ailment, treat me like a dog. they get better. They looked after far better than humans do in the regular system.
Okay. Well, so what's been happening, Harold?
Oh, just doing a few vids here and there, and I've had a lot of it on my plate work-wise and stuff like that. End of the year, we've had a lot of people moving around because they're refurbishing the building, so we've had to do some overtime. They decided to do it on the weekend, so I did some additional hours through the week. But I basically didn't apply for the overtime. Everybody else did, but I didn't. I said, nah, fuck it. I enjoy my weekends. I'm not coming in for 3 hours. They weren't going to be flexible. I said, they decided to be 9 to to basically 1 o'clock, and I said, well, why don't you guys just make it flexible? Our work hours are flexible within 7 to 7, so why don't you basically just make it? I'll come in the afternoon and do 4 to 3. No, everybody else is going to be there. Oh well, so be it. I'm not putting up then. So they weren't happy with that, but bad luck. You're not going to be flexible. I'm not going to be flexible. So yes, so to speak.
Yes.
We'll just troll through that. What have you been up to? I noticed you've been doing quite a bit of training, which looks good. Why don't you tell us a bit about how that's progressing?
Yeah, it's been going well. Mostly I'm doing body weight resistance stuff around the barracks here. I'm doing some chins. I'm doing some pulls. Doing a few dips off the corner of the kitchen bench sort of thing. Doing some L-sits off that as well. Doing a little bit with the weighted vest, doing some up and down the stairs and walking around the place and that kind of crazy carry on. And for active recovery, just a bit of paddling around and that kind of stuff. Getting plenty of sun. Got a bit too much sun yesterday. Shit happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went and sat on a beach before we went to the smokehouse. And nice. So that was good. And we took the fluffies and they caused all manner of mayhem, of course, as you do. Making a few videos, posting directly to library now rather than to Facebook at all. The only thing I'm using the YouTubes. The only thing I'm using YouTubes for at all now is promoting Cerule-based videos, and if I do an occasional live stream when I feel like doing one, then that'll be there, obviously, because library doesn't have a live streaming facility at this point. And then that automatically goes across to library anyway, because I've got my YouTube's linked across to library. It's been doing that since months ago. So yeah, it's all going pretty well in that regard. The library channel is growing reasonably steadily, without setting the world on fire. It's doing well. It's the numbers are building up there. The view time is building up there. The library credits are starting to accrue, which is good. There's some crowd that's doing pumping of various cryptocurrencies at the moment. Apparently, a couple of days ago, they chose the library coin to pump, so that's now gone up some huge amount. So, cash, money's in on that. Good, whatever. Cerule continues to do okay without setting the world on fire. It's still now the biggest source of income over and above the YouTube stuff and the library stuff and the consultancy business all put together. That all of that earns less than Cerule does after 3 months of promoting it. So that's good.
That's good.
It is good, and it's an opportunity that's available to any and all of you, actually. You know what to do. Send me an email if you don't already have the linkage to the Cerule sign-up site, and I'll give it to you. Get involved. It's as easy as falling off a log, frankly. Yeah, it's a good opportunity. It's good stuff. It does exactly what it says it does. Of course, you got to deal with 1 or 2 objections from people, but that's easy enough. There are answers to all the. You're only going to get one of 3 or 4 questions that people ask, and it's going to be 1 of 3 or 4 questions that someone's going to say, or comments that someone's going to say. There are answers to all of them. I can train you up. It's pretty simple stuff. You don't even have to be particularly Jedi. Yeah, let's make 2021 the biggest financial year that we've all had, because you don't have to quit what you're doing. You can keep your job. It's fine. This is a part-time, home-based enterprise, basically. So it's good stuff. Anyway, there you go. There's my plug for Cerule again.
Yep.
And tell people about it. Don't keep it a fucking secret like I did for 10 fucking years. I can't believe I kept it a secret for 10 years. I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah. So, look, I've been saying to you, look, it's done wonders for you. So why not promote it? In a sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And now it's doing wonders financially as well. Fat Nardo's here. Fat Baroonies.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is.
Good to see you, boy. Nurse Trouble's here. Good to see you. Shell's here. Awesome.
Some of the regular characters are here.
T2's here. Zacchaeus here. Is she the sexiest goddamn avatar on the internet? My word, she looks good in that photo. She tells me it's an accurate picture of her too. I'm impressed.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway,
Chris is just asking, what's wrong with liver every day? I can think of one thing. Look, Greeks do tend to traditionally did consume liver quite a few days of the week. I mean, I remember having small amounts of liver, which is cooked over coals at least 3 times a week. So that's not, sometimes even 4. That's not really a big issue if you're having small amounts. If you're having massive amounts, the only problem that I see is if you're very highly deficient in a lot of the actual vitamins and minerals, go for it for a certain period of time. And even Terry Walls, she saw enormous improvements with her MS by, dealing with the nutrient deficiencies that she had from her past plant-based lifestyle. But there is a sort of a downside, and it has to do with combining with high dosing of B vitamins, and it can create certain conditions. I'm going to do a video about it. I don't want to talk too much about it at the moment. It's a combination of vitamin D and B vitamins, and has to do with improvements in mental health and other things like that, those sort of parameters. But excessive amounts can actually make it difficult for you to get to sleep. So especially pantothenic acid, because it does store. Remember, we did that video together about storing. It does store and it can build up a bit and can cause some imbalances in that regard. So that's probably one reason why I wouldn't say go crazy on it. But having it a couple of times a week, small amounts, not a problem. I see no problems whatsoever in that regard. Especially if you're basically, let's say, consuming a bit of the alcohol variety of stuff as well. Don't go
doing that.
You shouldn't be doing that, but you know what I'm talking about. That are basically, yes, exactly. But yes, we shouldn't actually encourage people to do the wrong thing. Let's move on before I say too much.
Take that lesson on board, Paul Saladino. We should not be actively encouraging people to do the wrong thing. That's what the problem is here, son. You don't understand what the problem is? That's the problem. I saw a meme posted on your Facebook page, Paul Saladino, the other day, and it was a list of do's and don'ts. Not a if it suits you, go ahead, or if you must go, it's do. And it said, eat honey and fruit. Do. That's promoting it, Paul.
Really?
That's not saying
is this a recent thing?
Yeah.
God,
the man's completely incredible and completely uncredible.
First of all, fruit and honey, it was seasonal, was not available all year round. It was consumed in very small amounts. And the other thing is, fruit was not what fruit is today. It was basically a very fibrous, very small, very, it was actually a bit soury. A lot of the early fruits, we converted them through hybridization and stuff like that and made them into the big things they are. I mean, watermelon used to fit in your palm, and now it's a massive thing that you need both hands and probably a truck to move it, So it's ridiculous what people are asserting, let alone these things are very high in deuterium. So if you're consuming these at a high rate, and I've actually made that quite clear, honey has 200 part per million. It's closer to seed oils than it is to raw sugar. Right. Raw sugar is healthier. Raw sugar has got less deuterium than honey.
There you go.
It's a growth factor.
Feppers says, I thought you quit coffee, to me. To which my answer, Feppers, is, yeah, I did. I also gave up drinking piss and wanking as well.
No, not. G'day, Dave.
I didn't say I quit coffee, Feppers. I said I cut my coffee back, and I have.
Yeah. So, I mean, yesterday I just had 1 cup of coffee. I mean, I've got one here. So I've cut back as well to 1 or 2 a day. Even though I'm a very good metabolizer of caffeine.
If you do say so yourself.
genetics. But at the same time, I've sort of gone, need to cut back on some of this sort of stuff, probably a bit too much. So it's just getting older, look after ourselves a bit more.
Honest as fuck.
Christina, there was something about you actually asked me last time, and that was about, I can't remember whether it was you or someone else, and it was about the boron stuff that we were talking about. And you were probably, I can't remember whether you were still doing high, because remember I said to people to normalize, come from 12 down to 3 and stay at 3, don't go above 3. Because even, like having 2 avocados will give you about 3 milligrams. And that's not going to cause any problems. But when you go over 5, it can be a bit of a problem. It can accumulate, it can be an issue. That's why I said it's a quick hack for a month, and then you basically go to low levels or just get it from the diet, from organ meats and stuff like that. The people who are keto probably will get it from things like avocados or whatever, like Stephanie Keto Person does. But the thing is, you don't need to supplement forever. It's something which is basically to normalize a lot of it does suppress prolactin, and also for men it brings down estrogen. For women, it actually improves their their own estrogen, but also their testosterone to the levels, the more normal levels, and it improves their overall especially the most postmenopausal state. But it's something you do a biohack and then you drop it to those lower levels. The problem also is that I've actually come across some literature recently that it actually can exacerbate a magnesium and potassium deficiency. So even if you've got a low-grade potassium or magnesium deficiency, we're not talking about a high grade, if you're taking too much boron, it will exacerbate the symptoms. So that's what some people who did not listen to what I said initially, and I made it, on a number of occasions I said, you've got to lower it down to 3 and stay at 3 and don't go above that. And I can't remember who, whether it was you, Christina, was still staying at 6 at the time or somebody else. And, and that may have been the exacerbation issue that you may have felt, or the other person. I can't remember who it was. It's been a while now, but I've just recently come across to realize, going down another rabbit hole, and found out, it does cause these, it can actually accentuate the these deficiencies, even if they're mild deficiencies in magnesium or potassium. So it was something that I wasn't aware of. So, it's everything, it's funny. Once you go down, you're always finding little bits here and there. So, so basically the initial stuff that was based on the studies that people, when they stayed too long at higher doses, it was a problem. It's quite clear that there definitely is an issue when it comes to electrolytes. You need to stay at that lower level. Taurine also plays a very important role in regulating, electrolyte balance and stuff like that. So, if you need to basically stick to 3 milligram, like continuing the dosage, which will push you with your diet close to 5 or whatever, just a bit of extra taurine should settle the homeostasis of that side as well. So keep that in mind. I can't. Was it you? Can you let me know in the chat? Anyway, we will move on. See what everybody else is asking. Yes, bird brain, officially. Harry, if some people have poor carotenoids to retinol conversion, well, then they should basically be not at all focused on retinoids. Look, there are some carotenoids in meat, and a lot of people from the British Isles, and in particular from Ireland and Scotland, tend to be very poor converters. They tend to have and Iceland, Norway, because a lot of these populations consumed a lot of cod. And so you actually got a lot of retinol from cod liver, and as a consequence, that gene got downregulated. No different than the Han Chinese with their choline and all these other genetics that are around the place. They're all part of these slight adaptations. the more mountainous people. I did it yesterday, about riboflavin and about the mountainous people and their, milk consumption and stuff like that, and how that sort of, changed their genetics because of that, plus deprivation and stuff like that. There's a whole lot of little subtle genetic changes. And I always say, look at your ancestry, what were your ancestors eating? That will give you a bit of an insight of the type of animal food combinations you should consider. It doesn't mean we're excluding other sources, but it also means that you need to be cognizant that you may have some genetic variations or differences that may make you more susceptible or less compared to some other population group. So keep that in mind. And obviously people that are on a SAD diet, and not only on a SAD diet, but also on a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet, any one of these diets are going to have, very poor conversion. So if they've got that sort of ancestry, and you look at people like Mick the Vegan and others like that, how they go, their skin goes orange from too many carotenoids and stuff like that, and they have a whole lot of issues. And remember, when you accumulate carotenoids in the flesh of an animal, and that it can turn into a pro-oxidant. So it's not a healthy thing. In that regard, so these people really are harming themselves. And I know a lot of the vegan supplementations are basically carotenoid based, so they probably have the worst problems, and that's why they have a lot of these skin problems. And when they become ex-vegans, they tend to basically correct these, even with small amounts of cream or butter or whatever. They tend to correct these things. So it doesn't take much. The body's very robust and very adaptable and can come back unless it's very severe damage. There are, cases of that sort as well. Let's be quick. Ion minerals. Look, there are trace minerals in the sort of stuff. I use a colloidal mineral that comes from, I've shown it before, that comes basically from King Island. It's basically these old plants that have, I can't remember how many meters under the soil they are, and they're sort of a fossilized type thing, and they actually extract them and get these, minerals, and they are very much, they've got the sort of the ionic properties that can actually be transported by the proteins in your gut. In that regard, I have them occasionally as like a supplement, but I've probably less now. It depends on how deficient you've been in the past, what your diet has been. Once you're basically on eating a species appropriate diet, some organ meats, some seafood, especially crustaceans and all that, and you have a sort of a mixed variety of foods, you should be getting all these things and not requiring supplementation anymore, because they are expensive. A lot of these colloidal or type mineral type supplements, they are expensive. And I tend to say, well, if you look at liver, it's cheap. If you look at some of the crustaceans, are cheap. I mean, there's a place down here in Dunalley, which isn't that far, people that know Hobart, and you can literally go there on the weekend and literally leave with sacks full of sort of crustaceans, and boil them at home and have all sorts of really nice carnivore soups. So there's a lot of different options, and it's much cheaper that way anyway. I would probably give them a miss, unless you've still got some reasons for them in terms of deficiencies and stuff like that, on the cost basis really, rather than anything else.
She doesn't look like she's short on anything much, Harry.
I don't think so.
This Christina is not tan. What you're seeing, this is burn from yesterday. Tan comes next week after that. Yeah.
Yes. Look, I noticed, myself recently, because I've been going out in the sun, and my skin tends to be lighter. Because you're in Tasmania, most of it's winter, and now we've hit the summer, and so I tend to become very pinky. And as my skin is currently quite pinky because of the same reason, I'm out for a couple of hours every day. Yes. And so,
well, if you're thinking, that makes me the brain, and so we have to do the same thing we do every night, Pinky.
That's true.
We're going to take over the world.
That's it.
Mm.
Exactly. I wasn't thinking straight.
No.
Tell me, Master, how do we take over the world?
Well, we start one day at a time with we take over the interwebs. How's that going for us?
Not good. Especially on the YT thing.
Cheers.
You're going to have it. Watch what I eat. Going to Asian fried chicken place to catch up with some workmates and workmates for called fried seed oils. Danger, Scotty.
Yes.
We need warp power, Scotty. And seed oils aren't going to do it. Yes, look, the biggest problem is nowadays, I mean, if you go to places like Asia and all that, it's less of a problem. I mean, even some of the actual like sesame oils and stuff like that, they do have a certain level of antioxidants. Even the, and they only use them once. So, and also the way they stir and reduce the heat element as well. So there's a cultural sort of things. When you go to sort of your westernized sort of Asian whatever, they have the standard sort of deep fries, and they just put it in their deep fryer and they leave it there, and that's seed oils. And so that's a problem for you. If there are any foods there that are not deep fried, what can I say? Low dose. I can only say low dose vitamin E from jarrow and astaxanthin to refresh the fatty acids, and that only does a partial protection, very little. It may help you 50%. You're still going to get some damage, believe me. It's not that good. These things are very reactive. They've got aldehydes. You may be able to deal with the oxidative parts, but with the aldehydes, it's much more difficult. You know, astaxanthin and vitamin E are more to deal with the oxidative parts, but not with the aldehydes. So you still got to contend with aldehydes that are, very colourful things they can do. I mean, look, some aldehydes have certain biological importance in the body, but these sort of rancid man-made aldehydes definitely don't. They don't have a place in the human body, and they will cause massive damage to your lipid rafts, and they will tear them to pieces, as Bart knows, because he's done with Pim some of the experimental work. So,
yeah, DNA as well. It tears DNA to pieces. That's not a good thing.
Exactly.
It will cause apoptosis in certain cells. It will cause carcinogenesis in other cells. Yeah, basically, you want to avoid aldehydes in the same way that you want to avoid left-wing politicians, putting muzzles over your face, and social distancing. All things to be avoided. So there you go, demonetised.
Never was, mate. Never was.
I know, that's why I was safe. They'll probably say that's advice against the WHO, and we'll take your video down and give you a warning now.
Well.
Because apparently, not even humor is acceptable anymore, Harry.
Yes. I don't really care that much when it comes to YouTube and their politics. I mean, you probably noticed me recently. I curse and swear and all sorts of things and carry on.
No, Harry, we won't have that. Goodness.
Yeah, awful, disgusting. I
know.
How could I be a normal human? It's absolutely disgusting to be a normal human. You've got to be regimented. You've got to be, behaved. You've got to be woke to buggery.
That's it. And also, the offence which younger generations than ours, Harry, feel for some reason a God-given right to have on every topic, basically,
Yep.
they also somehow have been educated and reinforced to believe that not only do they have the right to be offended, but their offence puts you in the wrong.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. You know,
automatically, because I'm offended, you're in the wrong.
Yeah, it's absolutely, you know, moronic, this sort of thinking. But it's what is promoted. That
Exactly.
You know, even something that I say will offend. Well, hold on. There's a thing called
fucking everything I say offends somebody.
There's a thing called freedom of speech. You know.
No, there isn't. No, don't fool yourself.
No, but what I'm saying is that is part of what we would up until very recently, everybody within accepted as, you know, an acceptable way of actually behaving. Where these people, you know, I'm not saying, you know, go out there and say, you know, certain things that people say, kill these people or do this or that. You know, that's different. That's inciting violence. That is, you know, that's basically, you know, telling people to, you know, encouraging them to do, you know, things that are there's a whole raft of law that has existed for eons that basically covers all that. I mean, you can't kill somebody. I mean, it goes right back to biblical times. I mean, it's not as if these laws don't exist. These sort of modern laws of offence have nothing to do with real offence. It's basically that I don't like your ideas, and so I'm going to suppress them. And that's a completely different thing altogether.
Are there ideas being suppressed anywhere in the world today, Harry?
No.
You're
Can't
think of it happening anywhere.
Yes. I'm delusional.
Yes, so am I. Quite delusional, clearly.
You can't even have.
And I need to be kept under control. I need to be silenced, Harold.
Yeah,
that's what the problem is.
I find it even with some people on the left and right when I talk, I get clobbered by both, and I'm going. You can't even have eclectic ideas because I tend to have, you know, when it comes on the economic front, you probably know I'm sort of old-fashioned working class, you know, lefty on that sort of stuff. But when it comes onto the moral sort of stuff, I'm probably more conservative, you know, in those sort of things. But that's the way a lot of the old working class people used to be for a very long time. This modern middle class woke PC stuff that has dominated our culture now is the anomaly, is the strange thing. And I think in the past there was a much healthier relationship between people on both sides of politics, where now there isn't. Now we've got this sort of real nastiness on both sides, and I find myself, you know, in the middle, being clobbered by both sides, you know, not really fitting in either camp. I don't know how you feel, but I find that people are less tolerant, less, you know, being nice to each other. You know, it's like people, I mean, I remember being brought up to be respectful of my elders, to be respectful of other people, you know, never to be, you know, nasty and spiteful, or and even when I had different opinions with other people, you know, I basically was respectful of other people's opinions. I just didn't basically, you know, call them all sorts of names or tell them that they are this and that and whatever, like the vegans do and whatever. So I don't know. The world today is just, you know, people are being told to hate each other, to marginalize each other, and to distance from each other. You know, it's a very anti-social, misanthropic culture that we're starting to breed, which is basically this, what I call this post-capitalist rentier type capitalist society, where the rest of us, and it's really the elites basically now realize that they can't, you know, people are up to their eyeballs in debt. You know, we're going to negative interest rates. You know, we've got declining birth rates. So the only way of actually being able to keep the whole thing afloat, which I've talked about in the past, is basically turning the whole system into a rentier system. You don't own anything. We own everything. We sell it to you. You basically are a compulsive consumer, and the best consumer is a vegan because they continuously eat junk. And so, you know, that's what they want to make us into, kibble-eating vegans that basically are compliant and basically don't own anything and just buy everything from these corporations.
There is
that's the sort of that is the strategy that I can see.
Yep. There is a clear, overt, and explicit agenda being put forward currently by the elites and by the controlling governments of several major Western nations, and I will name Canada straight away.
Yeah, Australia's the same.
Off the bat, Australia is the same. New Zealand is the same.
The UK.
The United Kingdom, although it's being controlled by a so-called conservative government, is also playing this game as well. And so is the States, up to and including everybody except the current sitting US president. And he still is, by the way.
Exactly. We need to realise that the left and right are the same. They just basically have a different approach for the same agenda. Yeah. They're being financed by the same people.
Which is socialist totalitarianism.
Basically. And it's a corporate.
Explicitly, Harry.
It's a corporate. Yeah, but it's a corporate totalitarianism.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's what it is. That people need to understand. You won't own anything. The corporations will own everything, and they will tell you what to eat, how to live, everything.
Yeah.
How to think. So
whether you can play with your cock or not.
Exactly. God, that's going to be a problem for you, mate.
Well, not so much as Pathappas.
Oh, that's true. Oh,
and he lives in Canada, so he's fucked.
Shit. Well, Fappas will need therapy.
He will. Yeah.
And you know the sort of therapy they'll be giving him. Oh God. I feel for you, Fappas.
He feels for himself.
We know.
I'm here all week.
G'day, Harold. Good to see you, mate. Look, I actually have noticed even that on mine. Like on my PC, I won't get any notifications. On my mobile phone, it keeps on popping up continuously. It's because it's a Google phone, and the Google phone actually is designed to basically flood you with notifications. So it's built into the design, so they can't really reverse it or control it in a specific. They just do, it's like a mass notification type thing. So that's why I think it actually is via the phone. You actually get better notifications. It's a technology glitch for them. They may correct it in the future to be able to discriminate, but at the moment, that's not the case.
Yeah.
For the time being.
Dr. Risa, nice to see you in the chat there, Dr. Risa. Very good.
Oh, shit. StreamYard just jumped on me. I just lost my spot.
Fucking StreamYard. I would tend to just give up on trying to have a spot on the StreamYard chat, because StreamYards have played their whole hand face up on the table here, Harry. They've made it absolutely clear that they don't give a rip-roaring fuck about this problem with the chat.
They don't.
They're not going to fix it. They don't care. And it's not just you and me. Like everybody that uses StreamYards has said the same thing, up to and including the cunt from Chorley. Even stupid people like her say the same thing. So, if everybody universally agrees that this is a problem, you'd think they'd fix it, wouldn't you? Nah, can't be fucked with that.
You would think.
Oh, God.
You would definitely think that, but yeah.
Do you like the Pahutakawas, by the way? This is a native New Zealand called a Pahutakawa, and it's otherwise known as the New Zealand Christmas tree because it flowers usually a week or so before Christmas and lasts until about a week or two after Christmas. And you get these. This photo actually doesn't even do justice to it. You have to see an actual Pahutakawa tree in full bloom to appreciate it. The color is something I cannot describe to you. It's redder than red. It's incredible. Anyway, there you go.
It looks really nice. There's a couple of in the southwest of Tasmania, which is it's a protected area. It's just a massive area, national park. Yeah. It's basically about probably a third of Tasmania, and it's got those old type of. It would have been an original tropical forest, but now it's in a sort of a temperate type environment. So it's still got the characteristics. It's sort of a temperate tropical type forest, the ferns and all that sort of stuff. and you get a lot of water in that sort of environment, but it's much cooler. So it's a very strange. You go to that sort of environment, you go, this looks like a tropical environment, but it doesn't feel like one. So it's well known internationally. People that do a lot of bushwalking and stuff like that, so would know what I'm talking about. But in that regards, yes. Anyway, so I've missed all the other stuff. So if people basically, they'll just have to put there. Yeah, would you mind demystifying the Charter's attack on the N15 testing? You want to go for that, mate?
Yeah, well, because she had a go at this with me. I was involved in a discussion with her, myself, and Tommy Kelly and Ryan Brown were there. It was their channel, the Road to Recovery podcast.
Yep.
She was bigging herself up before this, saying, "I'm going to destroy bart.kay. I'm going to destroy you. Watch this. I'm going to fuck him up on N15. On N15. I'm going to destroy his whole argument. Blah blah blah. All this kind of stuff." And she came on, and we kind of had the preamble, and we had a bit of chat, and it was all polite and blah 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 and stuff. And her whole approach, her whole strategy was this. She said to me, "Could I please tell her what elements are present in carbohydrates?" And I said, "Well, certainly. That's very easy. That's why we abbreviate it the way we do to CHO, because it contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen." And she said, "So carbohydrates don't contain nitrogen then?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, how then can an N15 test tell us how much carbohydrates somebody ate?" And I'm like, "Oh, are you that fucking stupid? Really? Really? Are you that fucking dense that you can't work that one out for yourself?" Okay, here's the thing. Tell me which plants do not contain any protein. Can you name one?
There's nobody in the chat that's actually saying anything.
No, because there aren't any, because plants have protein. The vegans will tell you this. Ask them, do plants contain proteins, vegans? They'll say, of course they do. That's where we get our protein from, you fucking idiots. So if we do an N15 test on someone to see what percentage of the protein they have consumed came from animals and what percentage of it came from non-animals, and it comes back highly animal-based protein, does that not tell us how much carbohydrate from plants they ate as well by default? Exactly. Well, yes, it does, you stupid fucking ignorant cunt.
Yep. And that's the difference between the 14 and the 15. That's the difference between the 14 and the 15.
The hour-long discussion chasing her own tail, trying to dig herself out of that one, and saying stuff like, oh, well, of course, it's all about terrorism. What? How did fucking terrorism come into this? Anyway, so that was fun.
Talking about, look, I find that as well, people have stated that, and I'm going, well, I mean, if it's from plants, you'll know because it's, it's 14. You'll have more 14 than 15. So,
right.
I mean, duh. Yeah. So if you've got high levels of N15, it means that you are concentrating more and more animal flesh as you go up the food chain, and it's basically going up the food chain. It's basically, so when you look at the N15 values of animals like dolphins, sharks, all that, it's just basically N15. So.
Dr. Wade Risser says maybe prehistoric people were only eating Smarties. I think if in the case of Veganica and her forebears, I think they were probably eating dummies.
That's it.
God.
Look, it's laughable. It's basically Mr. X, and people need to understand that vegans are in the game of misinformation, lies, and misdirect. I mean, they lie to themselves. They constantly cheat.
Red, otherwise known as PsychoCat90, Red has got it sorted. They were living on isolated pea protein. That's what it was.
Must have been.
Good.
So how did they get? So the vegetards from the future got it back to the vegetards of the past through a time machine?
Don't know.
There's a possible Star Trek angle there. I can see.
Anyway, that was that one. Fun and games.
Yes. Those are their arguments are so weak, so easy to shoot down. It's
like
it's laughable.
And their minds.
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
Their spirits and their souls and everything else they've got going.
Well, some of them you actually look at them and you go, God almighty, they really are in a bad state. I walk around the city and sometimes I look at people and I see these young people, especially women, for some reason they get attracted to this lifestyle. And you go, oh, she must be a vegetarian. You just see, the way she's walking, or you see younger people even now in walking sticks or, showing being debilitated. And you go, what is happening to the human race? It's really shocking when you look around and you go, God almighty, we're falling apart.
What's happening to the human race. I'll tell you what's happening to the human race. We are bringing up our children to believe that they should be offended by everything and that puts them in the right.
And they should be eating kibble.
That's right. And trusting the scientists, except the ones that talk about N15, because that's flawed. Cornell is quite right on that. Everything that doesn't agree with their agenda is flawed.
Do you have proof of that, Fapnado? Some of these guys don't really know how to stir the pot. I do.
I was aware of that, Helen. I was just making a public statement to sort of, because Helen's earlier comment made it look like she was saying, I'd rather give money directly to me rather than buy Cerule, which you can obviously absolutely do. Anyone that wants to give me money, I'll take it. Absolutely. But if you also want to get something out of investing or spending such money, like some improvements to your health or, something crazy shit like that, or skincare is good as well. We've got a fantastic skincare range. Then go and buy that, and then you'll get something out of it, and I'll still get paid. There you go.
Options there. Yeah. Yes, we've already covered that about the Saladino thing.
So if that's true, though, why does he say do on his list of do's and don'ts, and he stipulates up to 100 grams per day?
That is a
365 days a year.
God almighty, that is a lot.
100 grams of sugar a day, every day of your life, Paul Saladino?
God,
no, son. No.
I mean, at that, just think of it, the level of, forget about the deuterium level, the glycating effect of that. We're talking about 7 times more glycating than glucose. It's the equivalent of consuming 700 grams of rice.
Right. In terms of the glycation.
In terms of glycation. We're not talking about energy or anything else, but in terms of glycation. So why would you recommend something like that? I mean, somebody's saying, well, you've got a sore throat, put a teaspoon in a tea and yeah, possibly. It couldn't be anything else. Does he sell honey? I don't know. Does he?
Is
he involved in any?
I bet. I'd put my last dollar on it that he's getting a kickback. He's a shill, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Doesn't have to be anybody else's. I think he probably is on the take. I also think everybody that bought his book should get a refund.
Yeah, I know, because his book basically is bashing plants, like there's no tomorrow, and a lot of these type of foods. And now he's turned around, and I've actually said that that basically it's the Ray Peat crowd and all that have basically, to a large extent, affected his thinking or whatever. I don't think he's a good, like a deep thinker. It's very easy to go and hit PubMed and basically, pick up a whole lot of stuff and, do a whole lot of links and say, here's a whole lot of rat studies that just support my preposition.
People need to understand Paul Saladino is a trained physician and a trained psychiatrist.
That's it.
He is not a scientist. He's never done a research project in his life. So, Paul Saladino knows everything because no. Paul Saladino is a trained physician and a trained psychiatrist, not a scientist. He's no more qualified to profess on nutrition than the cunt from Chorley is.
Exactly. precisely.
Which is not at all. Anyway,
and the sort of these sort of arguments that that he's making in recent times is really it's like the Strong Sisters and their issues. They had just too low fat stores, and when you have too low fat stores, you're going to basically get into trouble because already too much lean meats, and they were exercising far too hard, and that's why they got into trouble. Exactly. So the logic basically the logic is, rather than putting more animal fats in, let's put more honey, let's put more rice in, let's put more some of the other stuff. Great logic. That's the sort of thinking that's and the
works a little bit because a lot of the excess carbohydrate thus taken in will be transmuted to fat. What they should have done is eat more fucking fat.
Exactly. Because anyway, at the end of the day, what your adipose tissue there is as a storage place. So when you're not eating, you can basically tap into that. That's why chylomicrons go to the adipose tissue as well. They leave some behind if they can't get it in within that 10-minute circulation. And then they go basically back to the liver to basically have second dibs through VLDL, but smaller amounts as a consequence if you're on a species appropriate diet. But so the physiology is quite well known. It's something magical that's actually happening and all that. But the problem is these people, have got these ideas, these funny ideas that comes from the repeat crowd to a large extent, I've basically said. And it's really Tuesday's in. G'day, Tuesday. And they basically are arguing the position that you need to support your thyroid and this and all that. And I go basically, no. The Inuit didn't need it to support their thyroid, and there's a whole lot of other tribal populations that are very animal-based, like the Mongols were, and all these. They didn't need it either. So that's a whole pack of nonsense, completely. What is required by the thyroid? You actually need nutrients. You need protein.
Nutrients.
You need selenium. You need iodine.
You need to stare at the sun.
Exactly that as well. And you need all these sort of nutrients that basically support the thyroid function. But if you don't get those nutrients, and the problem is where a lot of this mythology has come about is where people have been doing therapeutic keto, like 90% fat and very little protein, being undernourished in micronutrients, and then getting into trouble with their thyroid and stuff like that. And then people going, oh, look, the keto diet is bad for your thyroid. No, it's not. It's undernutrition. Any undernutrition of any sort, even if you're engaging the Randall cycle, and the majority of people that have got thyroid issues are people on a SAD diet who are engaging the Randall cycle and are not getting able to get energy into their cells. So, it's nonsense. It's undernutrition, which is the problem that is causing these things. And a lot of these people, like the Strong Sisters and all that, again, lack of fat, undernutrition and stuff like that, they cause it to themselves.
The wrong sisters, Harry. You mean the wrong sisters?
The wrong sisters, exactly. These people are basically, being tricked and deceived by a person who's falling apart. He won't even appear in public. Repeat, because he's that far gone and in such a wretched state.
He can't say a sentence that someone would be able to comprehend what he's even said. He's
exactly
that far gone.
And that's what people don't understand. And I see people that are basically consuming animal-based diets. They are strong and robust because your bones are made of protein. The minerals are just basically depositing in that protein matrix in your bones. That collagen structure. So that's what you need. And if you're not getting enough of the species appropriate foods in your diet, parts of your body will start.
You mean honey and fruit, don't you, Harry? Honey and fruit's what you need.
Oh, that as well. It is an animal-based food.
100 grams a day, apparently. 100 grams a day of honey and fruit is what you need.
According to Paul, they are animal-based foods.
That's it. Tuesday, really good to see you. Hello. And for those who have any idea about who Tuesday is, you'll be excited to know that she has agreed to talk to me in the next little bit and bring us fully up to speed with everything. So look forward to having a chat with. Well, the Field Marshal will be talking with Tuesday. I won't be there, but he'll be running the show. So that'll be good. That's coming up in the next, when we can get it together with our calendars and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she'll tell us everything that's been going on and bring us up to speed with everything, including her new music career.
Oh, great! Stuff. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, I do listen to some of her music. It's really nice. I enjoy it. Yes. So, and I occasionally, I usually leave messages thanking her. Because when you do get somebody that contributes, gives you something, you should, for free, you should basically thank them for doing that.
Yeah. So now that I've said that publicly, she's going to have to do it.
That's true.
Get fucked. All right, good. All right, what's next?
Well, Lukey's saying yes, those beers, pretty much. You know,
sure,
yes,
sure.
That's where the fat belly comes from.
Yeah, good.
So we'll just move on. We've touched this. Seasonal donuts and fries. Oh, that's more Richard Burgess, vegan gains. He sort of he comatoses over donuts.
Have you been watching some of Sky's videos recently where she's been highlighting repeated recent events where Richard Burgess has completely lost his shit on a live stream? As in, someone will ask him a question or it's just trolled him even a little bit, and the boy's in late stage mental breakdown. He's the boy.
I mean, he apparently passed. Apparently, he had so many donuts once. He actually passed out. He actually.
Speaking of fucking devil, Sky's here. Hello, Sky. Go on. Sorry, Harry.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. So he was basically comatose completely, and actually shit himself in one occasion. He's really lost the plot. He actually tells people what is happening to him.
I make a fool of myself online. Oh, do I?
Exactly.
Richard? Do I? Fucking clown. So we were just talking about Richard Burgess, your boyfriend, and how controlled and how mentally balanced he's been lately. In some of the videos that you've outlined, some of his really stable, cool, calm, and collected behaviors about things like corn and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So,
when will we disagree? I don't really think we do disagree on anything.
I don't think we have yet on anything important.
No. Probably the only thing was a bit on the PUFA, and I think we've clarified a number of those points, and I think Bart's looked at some of the research that I've looked at and some of that, and I think he sort of. You would agree that it's less of an issue when it comes to from animal sources, not an issue.
Yes, it is really, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's patent. I don't think there's an issue with that.
Yeah, and I mean, you probably had a niggling in the past, but that was about it. It was only a niggling. I don't think you were really, I mean, you still consumed pork, you still consumed all those foods from the past, so it wasn't as if you had any issue. But that was probably the only thing that I was worried about potentially. But that's no longer an issue. I think plant-based fats are a problem because they are very easy to be. They oxidize very easily. They tend to accumulate higher levels of aldehydes over time. I mean, I've shown you guys the studies how. When it comes to pork, I mean, pork fat has actually got even less aldehydes than tallow, when it's cooked. So, how can it be bad? It's animal fats are completely different in the way they operate, they work. We've gone through it. I'm not going to cover that whole thing because that would take half an hour explaining everything like last time. So. Go back and look at my other videos, but the reality is that no, we don't have much any issue. I think Bart himself does a bit of a mixed carnivore diet. He does consume fish. He does consume other things and stuff like that, eggs and whatever else, and doesn't have a problem with that sort of stuff.
I even had a couple of bread rolls last night with our carnivore shared platter we had at the smokehouse in Motueka at the Smoke Barrel.
Is that species appropriate?
Well, apart from the bread rolls, and there was also a couple of dill pickles there, whatever, and we had some chili sauce and stuff to go with it. But they came out with this file basically of Wagyu beef and spicy chicken wings and
nice
pulled pork shoulder and this mountain of meat. And it was incredible. So there you go, the Smoke Barrel in Motueka, New Zealand.
Did you know this guy's trolling you?
Send a check to Harry Serpanos. Good.
Well, the thing is, Ted Damon, he's just another one of those people, like pretty much him, Chris Master John, people like that. They have these sort of strange ideas about the past and what people ate.
They have strange ideas, like they are remotely qualified to profess on nutrition. Those kind of strange ideas, Harry.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But they do have some weird takes on certain things. I find that Chris Master John recently has become like hypo. Like he's a big promoter of a lot of supplements. I find he sometimes has a bit of a chat with some other lady, and she pushes supplements like there's no tomorrow. And I find, where in his early days, he was more about organ meats and other things and other animal foods that were nutrient dense that he used to promote. And now he seems to basically think that it's fine to be pushing supplements on people. It's weird how some of these people have lost their way. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's a difference between those sort of supplements and different between something that actually really truly enhances adult stem cell production. You're not selling basically junk that you can get from food. There's a difference.
No, I do not. I've got evidence for that, Harry, or is that just an anecdote? I think it's snake oil myself. It's crazy snake oil. There's no evidence there.
So even though there are 35 peer-reviewed publications, that kind of fucking evidence, you stupid cunt bitch.
We still have this question to cover, Mr. K, Lord K.
Thank you.
Focus.
I'll settle down. Look at all the fucking bread in the chat, for Christ's sake. Is it making you hungry? There's fucking bread and pills and croissants.
Hey, croissants. You know what? They're just
Do you know what? All of this trolling, I blame this on you, Sky. This is all on you, bitch.
Yeah. These are absolute trolls, the lot of them.
It's your fault. You started this. We love you, really.
Yes. Look, most people need to realise our brains, if you look at a baby's brain, it's massively focused on fat. George Cahill showed quite clearly in his experience, and I've talked about it in the past, how, remember when I did those chimp things and I actually showed the levels of, like the bonobos had like 0.005 or whatever, really low levels of fat storage. They basically use lean meat to convert it into glucose. That's what they live off. Even though they consume massive amounts, up to a ton of meat, we basically made a switch to fat. And that's the fundamental difference. We started basically consuming a lot of fat, and that's where we got our energy. And the only reason we succumbed to some level of agriculture and domestication of animals is because the mega beasts, as temperature started increasing, around 10,000 BC or whatever, a bit beyond that, before that anyway, but it started getting warmer and warmer, we basically shifted. And again, the ApoE genes, the amount of resident time of chylomicrons also was slowed down. Why? Because we started tapping into some glucose, because we were running out of fatty animals, and that was the problem. They were getting, as the temperature increases, animals get leaner. They don't need as much subcutaneous fat unless you're close to the Arctic. And so as a consequence, this is why these genetic shifts happen, in order to avoid, with the small amounts of carbohydrates, and we're talking about small amounts, like 10, 50 grams we're talking about to be able to
no, 100 grams a day, Harry.
No. To prevent the deleterious effects of those amounts of small amounts of seasonal carbs that we were consuming. That was the whole reason. As it got warmer, we had started getting more of these fruits and stuff like that seasonally. And as a consequence, we needed to adapt, and the ApoE adaptation is to basically keep the remnant chylomicrons or fats that are coming in from the diet from getting into the liver when there's a bit of fat, already sugar in there that has come in from a fruit that person ate or whatever, a couple of fruits or whatever at the same time. And you basically need to not overload the liver. And that where that adaptation now, unfortunately, we do we consuming beyond a joke, the amounts of sugar, like 100 grams of honey and whatever. And that just overloads the liver and just basically causes fatty liver, so it's simple as that. And I wouldn't trust anything a lot of these people do because, even if they say, oh, I'm testing myself, well, there's very easy things to do. If you're doing a lot of weight training and stuff like that, you can reduce some of that sort of stuff, those effects. Fasting can also reduce some of those effects. Plus, before you actually go for the test, you can actually withdraw from some of those foods for a period of time. I don't know what you're doing at home. So for me, none of that has validity. We can't look at N of 1 is for myself or Bart. Our N of 1 reasons where we look and test ourselves and go, okay, this seems to be working for us. That's an N of 1. But beyond that point, trying to prove to anyone means nothing. It's meaningless because unless you're doing properly controlled studies, that is the only thing. And when we've done properly clinical studies, low carbohydrate diets, more animal-based diets always win in every single sort of setting. So, even when vegetards like Christopher Gartner from Stanford University, who's a plant-based, and got a lot of stick from Ornish, even he basically showed that the superiority of the Atkins diet. So even our opponents prove themselves wrong. It's not difficult to do that when it's controlled and properly done. But N of 1 things don't mean nothing, and so I wouldn't trust anything that Saladino had to say anyway. Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a bit nasty.
Jesus, Harry, are you that fucking far behind the chat? Let's catch up, son. For goodness sake.
That is it. Oops.
That was half an hour ago or more. Meat is the answer, Dave.
Exactly.
Next question. Yeah.
Next question.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, wisdom. They do not understand or context. Well, most animals that basically do not produce endogenous or in their bodies vitamin C use LP(a). Are the only animals that actually can produce LP(a) as a protective mechanism, and also uric acid as an antioxidant, and a few other functions as well. But that's about it. And LP(a) used to get upregulated for a small amount, like people that have got some small damage, endothelial damage, or some stuff like that on a species appropriate diet. The LP(a) will upregulate and fix that, and then it would clear it up. That's basically all that's required. But if you're basically inundating your body with sugar and all that and glycating everything to hell and buggery, obviously, LP(a) can't keep up. It'll get upregulated severely, and you'll have a lot of LP(a), but it's just an indicator that you're basically highly inflamed and you're causing a lot of things. It's not a problem. LP(a) is a hero. It is basically there to protect you, to fix things, That's the whole to stitch it all up and hold it all together so it doesn't go to shit and buggery. That's its purpose.
Shit and buggery.
It's not there to basically harm you at all. These people that continually, talk down LP(a) is because they're completely ignorant about the, the physiology.
That, Harry. Let me just add to that. Any protein, and LP(a) is a protein, any protein whatsoever that exists in your body,
the genes for yellow,
is made by your body according to instructions from a length of DNA that says make this protein. Said DNA having survived 3,800 million years of evolution on this planet. It's there for a reason. It has a job to do. It is the most incredibly ignorant, stupid thing that you can possibly say this protein is bad for you. This endogenously created protein. There are some forms of exogenous protein that are not good for us, like plant protein, for example. But that's for another day. Proteins that your body makes itself according to instructions encoded in your very genes, how can they be bad for you? Why the hell would such genes survive 3,800 million years of evolution? Get the fuck out of here.
Crazy, isn't it?
Let's move on.
Yes, I'm
on a roll.
I'm moving along. We're like, Shell, g'day, Shell. Good to see you. Oh, they brought McDonald's in. Oh, God.
Shell's as sexy as fuck too, by the way.
We should get her on one of these days.
We should. She's got one of my t-shirts, and she promised to send me a picture of her in a t-shirt. And I said I stipulated wet, but she sent me a picture of it dry. Come on, Shell. I want it wet. What's wrong with you?
She does have a partner, mate.
I know. Husband. Yeah, I know. But her and I do have a good working relationship on the humour, so it's fine.
Yes, I know. Yes, yeah. I've used 23andMe. If you're in the US, I use a generic name. I don't use my legal name, so that's another thing. Because I just don't trust any of these companies. As simple as that.
It's Harold Snake, isn't it?
That's it. Harold Snake.
Yeah. Harold Snake.
Snake, obviously the obvious thing.
Good.
Oh, well, Fapnado's got a. We missed that.
What do we miss?
Oh, Fapnado's got some sort of link there. That's the other thing that I hate.
You'd have to be brave to put a Fapnado link up without checking it first, wouldn't you?
Oh, look, I'll check it in that regard.
Apparently, Shell does still have the wet t-shirt picture. Well, don't be such a fucking holdout, bitch. Send it to me. It's safe with me. Very safe.
Let me try and bloody find it.
There it is there.
That's what I hate. That's what I hate. You can't copy things out of the StreamYard thing.
Can you not?
Do you know a way to do it, or?
Technology and I, we go back a long way, but we've never really got on.
Fair enough. Try and find it. I think I've missed it. Where the bloody hell is it? Can you put it back up there, Fapnado?
Punch it up again so that it's at the bottom of the chat.
Yeah, exactly.
The YouTube window. We'll take it from there.
Because the YouTube one is out of sync with the StreamYard one, which doesn't fucking surprise me. You know?
Yeah. Shell says she doesn't send me the picture because she knows I'd fall in love. Too late, honey. Too late. That's not to denigrate my deep love for all my other fans, of course. Love you all.
Yes,
especially that one from Chorley. That's absolutely fucking unable to not make a video about me every single fucking week. It's absolutely fixated.
He said it was a joke pick for a friend. He doesn't want to put it on. God. Okay. Exactly. We won't. Okay.
He soft-cocked out. That's what it is, didn't you?
Basically, you basically.
You went limp. You went flaccid, didn't you? Yeah. We know.
A bit like Bird Brain in his image. Remember?
Good.
Autophagy rates, mate. Any opinions?
Well, fasting can do it, obviously.
I think they're talking about the sort of rate. I think fasting is the one that's going to have the highest rate, and especially if it's dry fasting, will have the highest out of everything. So, and everything after that, exercise has actually autophagy.
So there you go, Fatty. Stop fucking eating.
But also in between eating, you'll get some autophagy as well. You're constantly getting autophagy. It's just very low grade, but the highest amount. Yes.
Honest, you're right. I do love the redheads, especially if the drapes and the carpet are a match.
Don't know enough about it. The new one.
Hell yes, love the redheads.
Look, I've basically, Bart and me probably have a few differences on vaccines. I think vaccines update as long as they're done in the traditional way, update the template, and for some diseases you definitely need them. Probably for the flu you don't, and a few other things you probably don't in that regard. I mean, the funny thing is the MMR vaccine, the reason probably why we didn't get a big there's a hypothesis out there I've been looking into about the coronavirus, and it seems that the people that have had the MMR, in particularly the mumps part of the MMR, seem to have, because of the coating structure of the protein seems to have some similarities to COVID. It meant that the immune system was able to respond better in those younger people, and it could be the reason why it didn't really become a problem for younger people.
Did you see, Harry, this week that they were talking about some people that got the COVID vaccine in Australia who developed HIV antibodies?
That was an experiment up in Queensland. I mean, that
explains it entirely.
Yeah. But at the same time, that was still they were experimenting. The whole thing goes. I actually looked into it, and I can't understand why the actual researchers would have used such a protein in their design. And they actually thought originally this could be a problem. Well, Coachy, if you think it's a fucking problem, why basically put it in there?
Exactly.
How fucking stupid? How fucking stupid can you be?
They're looking for a mechanism. They're looking for something to achieve a certain outcome.
That's
without
right.
thinking on the flip side. Hang on, here are the problems. Like here's another one they're talking about. They're talking about the fact that there is this particular RNA sequence they've got in this vaccine that could well sterilize females.
That is dangerous because it's an RNA. It's not a traditional form of vaccine. That's why I've said the Pfizer one I'm against for that reason. But the AstraZeneca, the Oxford AstraZeneca is more like the traditional types. So if you're gonna be forced to do anything, then that would be the only one that I would consider. Where all the others, these RNA ones, let alone actually the ability to store them in very cold temperatures and move them around they are prohibitively expensive on top of that. But on top of that, they've got all these other question marks on them. And so I wouldn't be putting something. Richard, I wouldn't be putting something like an RNA thing in.
But, edges need to be done. Richard, I was just saying to Richard from the chat window there that I prefer a bit of lawn myself, but the edges need doing. Yeah.
You mean one that looked like a Tasmania?
Yeah, fine. Yeah. I'm not saying it should be green. Green's not my favourite colour for carpet. Personally, as I say, it's potentially red. Although I do also have a penchant for the black myself.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
God. Better move on from this.
Yeah. Sorry, I shouldn't call it the black. I should call it the pink after the first quarter of an inch, shouldn't I? Right. Moving on.
Yeah, T2 for you. Don't expect. It's the low hanging fruit when it comes to insults against Kiwis.
I love it when you get involved, Harry, and start with the dirty talk as well. Low hanging fruit, you say.
I can't help myself, mate.
Yeah.
And they're the most woke as well.
Yeah, Absolutely. And the most judgmental and the most, you know, this is how you should think and how you should live and how dare you and stuff. You have stolen my dreams. You have stolen my future.
It's it. We'll go through all this other banter. Okay. I would be eating around the clock on Naaman's suggested diet. The insulin resistance for sure.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, there's a couple of them I've actually noticed. There's some recent people that have been coming out and saying you should have multiple meals a day and they should be protein based. And I go, oh great, rapid starvation, and it's some I don't know where people are coming up with these ideas. It's just beyond me, to say the least. High carb veganism is great for all stages of ApoE genes. I bet it is. And honey as well. Honey, my dear. You need to slather the honey on. Wouldn't you agree, Bart?
Oh, you need 100 grams of honey and fruit a day, says Paul Saladino. And he's a doctor, so he knows all about nutrition because he's a doctor. Of course.
Oh, exactly. Yes, yes, definitely.
I'll tell you what honey is good for, actually. All joking aside, honey is great as a topical treatment for things. Not as good as this stuff, of course. but honey's good, you know, as well if you good.
Standard mechanical. I'll leave this to you, so I can have a bit of.
All right. So sorry, a serious question for once. All right, Lucas, what are you saying here? It feels like standard mechanical overload theories of muscle growth don't fully explain hypertrophy. No, they don't. You're right, Lucas. But that's an hour-long discussion. Light dumbbell training system, good results on it. There are ways of achieving that, depending on what your absolute outcome goals are. If purely your goals are to build bigger muscles, there are a number of different ways you can do that. You don't have to do it in the way that it's typically done. However, if you want functional gains in strength for a functional purpose, be that a sporting purpose or a physically demanding occupation purpose or perhaps a military purpose or something like that, then specific training is just that specific. But if your goal is just bigger muscles purely for the look of them, yeah, you can do that with lower weights, so long as you know how to manipulate the other variables around loading and volume and all that kind of stuff. And if you want to spend fucking hours in the gym.
That's right.
Which I don't personally.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I prefer doing a bit of loading rather than actually and limiting the amount of time, because I just can't be bothered either. And I don't go overboard. I do it basically once a week, and I'm not interested in big muscles. Basically, I just want to maintain good muscle strength. And I find my mate. I also do grips, like grip, which
I bet you do, Harry. I bet. Yeah.
It does strengthen the actual hands and the actual and the wrist.
I find the old chin bar is good for and hanging off it quite a bit's good for the grip.
But also actually put a bit of material over and hold the actual material, and that actually will strengthen the wrists even more. My muscles are smaller than a mate of mine, and he was struggling to basically open a container, which was really hard. And I actually used my weaker hand, my left rather than my right, and I actually opened. He said, "What the fuck?" He said, "I weakened it." He goes, I go, "No." I said, "I've been doing wrist exercise. That's why my wrists are much stronger than yours." I said, "This is the reason why a lot of people actually struggle with bigger weights, even though they've got bigger muscles. They can't really, because they've got weaker wrists. You know, I mean, Fat Bernardo should have wrists like, you know." Can you imagine what he?
I don't need to imagine.
Like?
Yeah.
Well, there you
I
go.
don't need to imagine so much, Harry. I'm one of the very few people in the world who is actually acquainted with and knows the full and true identity of Fat Bernardo.
Yes, you are. You are. That's true.
The enigma that is Fappers.
Yes. So basically, that I do a bit of, you know, like I'll put material over and I'll hang from that material, because it means that the actual muscles and the actual parts that you're actually using tend to actually strengthen all the different muscles around your hands and within the wrist. And I've actually found that actually I've got far more stronger wrist and hand strength than what I used to have, even though my muscles haven't really grown that much, if that makes sense to you, by doing that. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do the same thing now when I actually look. If I go to the supermarket, I won't hold it in the normal way, the plastic bag. I'll actually hold it like with my hand like that, so it's held like that, and the weight is actually straining where I have to use firmness to hold on to it, and I interchange it between the hands. So I actually use it to basically exercise the wrists, and I've found it works really well. So you can actually incorporate it into your life, which is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to literally just go there and hang yourself, hang and hold onto some sort of material. You can basically just do those sort of other things.
You do realise, Harry, that no one's listening right now because they're all having a chat amongst themselves about eating out, and I'm not referring to restaurants.
Oh well, nothing new. I mean, they usually watch the stuff later again. I've heard some of them do. Oh God.
Yes, very good.
Okay,
Right,
we'll move on.
next?
That's pretty much, you've covered that more or less. So we'll move on. Try and get a few other questions in. Oh well, there you go. Richard says you've got beautiful skin, mate.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Well,
Yes,
somebody.
It's a combination of good eating and Cerule products over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah, we will move on. She's always a tease, isn't she, Sky? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cornell, you know what he's thinking? Wet t-shirt, wet t-shirt.
I'm thinking the same thing. Hey, I'm famous. Don't you forget it, troll. Yes, you got to laugh with T1 and T2. I always do. In all glory. He's back. You're back. Did you get your kibble? Goodness me.
Yeah, I know. There's. Hey, it's controlled ranting.
Every word is chosen carefully with malice aforethought.
Precisely.
Believe it or not, I do know what I'm about here.
Yes.
I speak for maximum effect. Yes.
Yep. I mean, I think this vitamin C keeps on creeping up, continuously getting circulated within the carnivore community on a continuous base. But it's. Did we? Or did the other characters catch you off guard? Yeah, you got to be careful with these characters, especially T1 and T2. Tuesday, just warning you. Just
loving that sultry look in that photo there, by the way, too. Tuesday.
Yeah, she looks really good.
Yeah,
she looks much healthier. I went back and actually looked at some of the earlier stuff, and she looks much healthier. Even her facial characteristics, her cranial and stuff like that, are better seem to be looking much better than in the past. So yeah,
all good, tracking in the right direction. Lovely.
Exactly. That is basically it. Let the carpet grow out. Oh God, I couldn't help myself. Yeah, I succumbed to gutter. It's you, mate. When you're around, I can't help myself. Yes.
Lasered.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Wade. The Merkin channel. Good.
Well, this conversation is as elegant and refined as always. Is it? She's probably talking about me, not you, Bart.
I know. It's you, Harry.
Yes.
You need to think about yourself, son. Frankly, appalling.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yes, it has a dirty mind as well. Believe me. Even Sky agrees with that statement. Yes, I'm going through it a bit faster. What wasn't honest?
The waxing, Harry. The waxing.
The waxing. Oh, yeah, I missed that part.
Yeah. So you need to pay more attention, Harry.
Yeah, I do. I don't.
We're not doing all this effort to get the dirt talk rolling, and you want to talk about science. Good.
I know. I'm sort of my mind creeps back.
Right. So, which doctor says to call now? Spit, don't swallow. Is that an instruction, or is that a personal proclivity? There, Tracy. What's the story?
Spit and don't swallow. Okay, that's a new one.
Not sure about that.
Give me a sample. The whole thing is degenerated, so I might as well just follow. I'm going to go further down. So actually, I'm cheating to catch up. If you've just realised.
Don't worry, it was all just filth and
exactly. Oh, look, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. What's Lukey's saying there's something, but it's not a big question. It's sort of a reply. Zombie's here as well. She's got a new one.
Zombie. Good to see you.
She's changed her avatar as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, Zombie, we've talked about vaccines until the fucking cows come home, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
But we haven't talked much about carpet munching, so I thought let's change the topic to carpet munching. Hey, look, if you want to get back to vaccines after I'm gone, you absolutely can. I've got another 20 minutes or so before I've got to do some other things with my life. So, yeah. I'm enjoying the dirt myself.
Oh, yes. That's what you did wrong. That's what you did wrong, Bart. Didn't have enough fibre last night.
Right.
You missed out on your fibre dose.
I see. Yeah, no, it's not recommended. I don't know why they say it's recommended that you eat more fibre. It's not. It's contraindicated. Fibre is contraindicated in the human diet. And that includes human pubic hairs. So get it out of there. Don't mind if you've got a landing strip or something like that, but get the main action clear of any detritus. I would say personally. Yeah.
Yes. You like a good lawn.
Well, your edges need to be done. Is what I was saying to Richard earlier. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Otherwise, you end up with carpet burns, Richard. Quite right. There you go. See? Yeah. Good.
From the diet.
Mandy's in the house. Good to see you, Mandy. Thanks for joining us just when we were talking about pubic hair, basically.
Hello, Mandy.
What do you mean just when? We've been talking about it for an hour, nearly.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Yeah.
So you're an animal basically says, I eat 0 fibre Tuesday, 0 problems, hair, skin, nails, stronger.
Good.
Oh, that's good to hear. What other interesting non-fibrous things do you consume? Oops. Oh, great. Just lost it.
Just lost it, Harry. You fucking lost it months ago, son.
Do you? It
I
was on his haircut.
There you go. Good. I don't need a haircut so much at the moment.
Just notice the name.
Yeah, no, look, for those of you that are confused about that and don't know what, haven't been following along, basically there is an old loophole in the English system that owners of land in the Highlands of Scotland have a traditional title called Laird, Laird, and the English Crown for hundreds and hundreds of years have recognised that as equivalent to the English Lord. And so if you own land in the Highlands of Scotland, you are entitled legally to call yourself either Laird or Lord. And it's irreproachable. It's legal. It's, you know, I am a bona fide Lord of the British realm. So get fucked.
Yes.
So Lord K is entirely appropriate.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
You've just added the other thing, the Master Lord K, and some of the
Master?
other things of carnivory, of carnal thoughts and carnivory.
Master of the gutter.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Yeah, Harry, I think you should join me on the dark side. I will complete your training, and together we'll rule the gutter.
It probably will.
Yeah. Just wait till I get my saber out.
And completely be banned from everything.
Good. Good. Yeah, I'll send love to Pim, Mandy. Thank you for that. Absolutely. Good.
I still eat some veg and grains, and my hair is growing like crazy. Since
That would be her red.
Eating red meat daily.
Yeah, and she's got red hair, and we all know my proclivity for those with red hair, don't we, Harry? But we still don't have an answer about the curtains and the drapes, though. So, I mean, the drapes and the carpet. Yeah, that's what I mean. So, just pop a message down there, Red, just to let us know whether the drapes are appropriately matching the carpet there, and that'll be great.
Very technological of you on the Tuesday. Laser scalping. That's brave.
Yeah. Do fuckers. Do. It's quite good point. Good point.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. See, you've stumped him. You've absolutely stumped him.
That blondes, while we're talking about hair color and things, blondes are almost never have matching drapes and carpet in my experience.
That's true. For
some reason, I don't know what's behind that, but
yeah. Look, it's like the, you know, the, what is it? I'm trying to think of it. I know, but I can't think of it at the moment. It's not coming to me anyway. Something to do with the.
Well, while you're thinking about that, I'll answer.
I remember.
She went right there. Fuck you.
Yeah. Also the like, you know, the blue eyes or the actual in particular, they tend to actually allow more light in. So you've actually, you know, but like somebody actually said that blondes tend to have much deeper or whatever, or it's something related to also the hair, and the way you know a fake blonde from a real blonde is if they're blue-eyed, is that difference. But I can't remember it exactly. Anyway,
Red, otherwise known as PsychoCat90, has actually placed an answer to the question about blondes there at the bottom of the chat, but that's for another day, perhaps. Quite right too. I think that sounds pretty good. Anyway, let me answer Lukey's question.
The body hair tends to be darker, and the head gets sun. That's true. Yeah, and it's photo bleaching.
Question. Fuck.
And it's photo bleaching because I actually have the genes for photo bleaching as well, and it's one reason why when I get into the sun, which I do more on a regular basis nowadays, my hair goes lighter, much lighter, and and I'm not talking about, yes, I do have greys, and it does cause that as well, but also my hair in general goes lighter. I mean, when I was a youngster in Greece, I had a bit of, some blonde, because some in my father's side are blonde haired anyway, but I had some blonde hairs and all that. And that was, photo bleaching, pretty much. Oh, right, we have to spend. Yeah, exactly.
Can I answer Luke's question now?
Oh, go ahead.
Right, he said he hopes that Pim's doing well and he's missing the live streams that she was doing on the weekends. It's because she's very, very busy setting up some other business streams, and I'm sure she'll come back to us when she's got those things up and running. She's doing fine. Thank you for asking. Just very, very busy doing her thing. Right, carry on, Harry. Fuck, Jesus.
Okay. What's your opinion? I mean,
you're an incredible son, aren't you? You really are.
Shut up. Just get on with the questions. Get on with the questions.
All right, what's next?
I'll mute him.
Like seed oil. It's seed oil. Fuck it. Get it out of here.
Exactly. It's a why even ask the question?
Exactly. You know the answer. It's a seed oil. Get fucked.
Exactly.
Yep. I'm the only person that thinks she's a redhead. No, it's red. Don't give me that. You're not blonde. You're just a light redhead. Strawberry blonde if you must, but you're not blonde. You are a redhead. And you still have to answer my question. The witness will answer the question. What colour is your pubes?
You seem to know too much, Cornell, about flappers.
Mm-hmm. Flappers?
Oh well, we're colourful on this side of the pond.
Schlong, that's a good term there. Schlong, isn't it?
Exactly.
I think it's the best live stream chat that I've been involved in for a while. This is fun. We should do this kind of thing. Yeah. Fuck the science. Who cares? We're done with the science. Science is settled.
People are shocked that you own something. Yeah. It's in some backwater up in some mountainous area you'll never see for a long time.
It's up in Aberdeenshire, which is right up the top eastern side of Scotland. There,
if you end up going over there, the witch with her gang will basically be waiting at the airport for you.
I'm sure.
Yes, apparently she said once that he should not be allowed, or that they make sure that he gets imprisoned if he comes back to the UK.
She won't have to do anything along those lines.
She's crazy.
Yes, if I step foot in the UK, that will happen anyway, Harry. She won't have to have any input into that. It's already, in play. So there we go.
Yes, exactly. That's true.
Yeah. So yes, Red, I do own some property in northern Scotland. That's why I'm a lord. Get fucked.
T2's, you know what T2's like. He's my regular South Australian troll.
Yep.
Are you in Adelaide, T2, or just in another part of South Australia?
I enjoy Adelaide. I think Adelaide's a great city.
It is.
I like Adelaide.
Actually, a mate of mine, a very close mate of mine, comes from Adelaide. He used to be a copper over there, but then he sort of moved to Tasmania, sort of change of scenery in that regard. But sort of
Did anybody ever point out to you, Harry, that Tasmania looks like a pubic hair shape thing?
Oh yeah. We've got even T-shirts of that sort.
Yeah.
So if you come down to Salamanca Market, you will find T-shirts with the
Tasmania. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, they don't call us the two-headed inbreds down here for nothing.
Good.
Yeah, we pass the photo bleaching.
Mm-hmm. Honey or corn syrup, which is worse? Not Helen either, really?
Well, both are just as bad. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, the only difference is on the deuterium front, I have to say honey is worse. On the deuterium front, there's still, you've got 200 parts per million, where for corn syrup, it's about 150, probably. I'm not sure whether it's slightly over 55, 155 plus, but I can't remember exactly how much corn is. But it's just slightly over. It's less than 160, but it's slightly over 155. Which is what raw sugar is.
Yeah, ask Richard Burgess about corn.
Yeah, he knows it. He knows plenty about it.
You'd ask Richard Burgess about corn.
Yeah, he actually had. That's what caused these. Let's say indiscretion online with too many corn dogs.
Yeah.
And shot himself.
And then someone asked him about corn, and he lost his shit again, shall we say, only in the psychological sense, and started running backwards and forwards to his kitchen, bringing out lots of Tupperware containers of grains and things that don't contain corn, shouting about.
I saw that. That was funny as fuck.
Oh my god! And then his poor husband was saying, "Richard, calm down. You're scaring the animals." And it was just
I know.
Yeah.
She's the only sane one in there.
Yeah, we covered that one earlier, Harry. That one from Red.
We did.
It's Red. I said so. Get fucked. And if I want your opinion, I'll tell you what it is. Right. Good. Dude,
more comments.
There's always more comments. Burger King Whopper. Listen, if Pim needs a Whopper, I'll fucking give her one, mate. Don't you worry about it. Fuck it hell. Good.
God. These, I said, I mean,
the fuck you will.
You've been told, mate.
You're gonna get it from.
Right, okay. Moving on.
Yes, exactly. That's how the rest of us feel about that.
Yeah, good.
Oh, God. I'd have to agree with Cornell on that. Let's move on.
Good. I'm glad I raised the show for you today, Harry.
You did. You definitely did.
Yep.
Oh, exactly, Tracy. This is high quality research into gutter talk.
Yeah. I'll tell you what the hottest combination is for me. It's red hair and brown eyes. Oh fuck. Very rare, but yeah. I had one ex-girl many moons ago of that particular persuasion. You know who you are. A long time ago.
Yes, I think that is a very excitable thing. That's true.
I'm a very excitable thing, Harold. Trust me.
Oh, poor Pim. What she'll have to put up with tonight.
Look, she doesn't have to do a damn thing. It's all voluntary.
It's all voluntary.
Yeah. And she gives as good as she gets in terms of the general carry on. you have to get up pretty early in the morning to put one over Pim. She won't have any kind of bullshit. I can promise you that. Any of you that have seen any amount of Pim online will know that she's not one to put up with any kind of bullshit. So
that's true. That is true.
Yeah. Good.
Actually, a real question.
Goodness sake. There's always one that wants to ask a sensible fucking question, isn't there, Harry?
There is always one. Bloody hell, what's wrong with you? Yes, keep the carbs down, basically, if you're an APO E4, basically.
Yeah.
You've got the lowest tolerance, pretty much. So yes, go for cheeses. Go for cheeses like brie, camembert, stuff like that.
Yep. Good.
Oh,
and
yes.
And go and get yourself a
Dirty Harry. Hey, go ahead, make my day urine.
God.
No, I know what you're feeling.
Uh-huh.
Do I have 2 fingers or 1, or is it a combo?
Or would you prefer the whole? Never mind, just 2 fingers, Harry. What about? Look at that.
Somebody had to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Oh, God. You mean Flappers needs a bit of D? What sort of D? Oh, a bit of vitamin P. P? Does that work for you with, urine? Flappers?
How did flappers turn into flappers?
Hey, I call him Flappers. That's mine,
Right, you can have that then.
You don't like it? Come up with something better.
Oh, it's your fucking show, Harry. You're in charge here.
New South Wales. Oh, is that where you are, T2? What the hell did I think? Actually, T1 said you're on the other side of the border, and I presumed you were in South Australia because he said that. Ah, okay. He means anything beyond the South Australian border is basically Eastern Territory. Typical of WA, of Westies. They're all basically the same, Yeah. If there was any state in Australia that would declare independence, it would be Western Australia. Say no more. Actually, my younger sister's over there, so I give her a hard time. And I get rude comments back. Well, I probably deserve them, largely.
Yeah. All right, fuckers. Well, it looks like I've completely destroyed your whole live stream, Harry. I've completely raised the tone of the whole thing. It's been a real hoot. I've enjoyed it. I will need to go now and do some Sunday afternoon bizzo. For those of you who are not yet supporting me fully by way of being on the library system as a verified user and tipping my videos and watching them and reposting them and putting them on your social media, get fucked, basically. Or please do, and then you can stop getting fucked. The whole thing is, if you don't support us, we're going to stop doing it. And so do that. Do tune in during the next, how long it's going to take for us to get our calendars together. I will be talking to Tuesday about everything that's going on in her life and shit, or whatever she wants to tell us anyway. That's coming up. I've got a few other interviews lined up as well. 1 or 2 things that might be moving the other side of Christmas or whatever. It just depends on calendars. I've got Charmaine lined up as well, who may or may not be ready to do another interview about some resistance training ideas and show us her abs again. Fuck. They're impressive. Stick around for that. And for the rest of you who want to ask Harry a bunch of sensible questions about science, stick around. He'll be doing that.
Stay around.
Well, you'll probably be on for at least another couple of hours, won't you, Harry?
Yeah, no, just another hour. That's about it, Yeah.
Cool. Oh, yes. Also, go and get yourselves involved in the Cerule business. Buy the Cerule products. If you don't know what the link is by now, you should. It's BKAY Nutrition.
You've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
I'll put a link at the end.
Good. Do that.
I'll
go
add
there
that.
Yeah, go and buy some product. That'll be great. Skincare, fappers. You can rub it all over your face. You'd be used to how to do that, wouldn't you, son? That's pretty much
places. And other places.
Yeah. Rub it in. Make sure it looks like. Yeah. That way, you know, we can all keep loving each other and sharing the love around. And we'll see you all next week. We'll be doing something completely different, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Okay. See you then, boys and girls.
Take care.
Catch you later.
Thanks for turning up, mate. See you.
Not at all.
Reach out to him.
We'll do. All right. See ya.
And he's gone. Back to me. His lordship has done a runner. That is not the... that was on the APOE, wasn't it? Yes. Not the type we're talking about. Fat nardo. You like the C and B vitamins. Probably need B vitamins, knowing your lifestyle. Yes. Nothing like a steak with butter on it. Yes, definitely. Bloody hell, 20 degrees in Brizzy. You've got to be kidding me. Shit, that is cold. You must have the wind cheater on. And a long slacks as well. Yes. That's strange because it's sort of a summer period, but you guys are having a lot of sort of weather patterns off the coast. So what is it, cyclonic type conditions or whatever. So it's probably lowered the temperature a bit. I think Adelaide is great. Yeah, it is. Look, it is a really nice place. Tasmania is also great. New Zealand, in particular, the Southern Island, is really, really nice. Look, people do different things. There are some people in parts of the world which basically have always had like low sodium consumption and tend to have genetics that actually upregulate the antidiuretic hormones and actually retain more sodium, and so tend to have less of an issue. But not everyone. You know, most Europeans, we've consumed a lot of salt because we were salting 10 times the amount. And so we lose much more salt. So we need much more salt. So there are variations. And also populations that consume lower amounts of salt tend to live less. Populations that consume more salt and animals that consume more salt live longer. It's very important for, you know, the functioning of your body. So even muscle protein synthesis, salt, phosphorus, and protein are the most important stuff. Any one of those is missing all three, and you start breaking down. And there's good science for that. So actual clinical science. It's one of the videos that I'll be making in January, but not yet. It's in the long list of things for me to do. Too many things. Especially for frogs. Essential. Without a bit of D in there, they would suffer. Some like it hot as well. It was good fun having Bart on. He's always, you know, let's say he takes the whole show down to a much lower level. Hey, look, I like the lighthearted stuff. I mean, I joke with you guys continuously now and then. I pester and pick on T1 and T2 as they pick on me. Vivid Mouse and the Nurse usually throw their 2 bits in, which is good. But we'll do a few things like that, both serious and non-serious, as we cruise along. been drinking a glass of A2 milk a day seems to agree with me through I was lactose intolerant for the longest time. Look, can be things like the proteins can be an issue. Like some people think it's the lactose, but it can be the proteins. So yes, like the milk that I get, the raw milk, they have two varieties. They have one which is the Jersey one that tends to be A2, and the other variety, which is it starts with an F. What was it called? I can't remember. It's the type that primarily predominates in most other parts. And thanks for that, Lukey. Predominates in parts of Western Europe and North America, and tends to have more A1, the actual protein. But it varies. It can vary. I prefer the Jersey one and a lot of the A2 milks because they tend to have more fat. All the A1 milks tend to have less fat. That means the actual fat production in an A1 milk is less. So even on that side of things, it's much better to get an A2 milk because it's going to have a higher content of fat, and it's what the Maasai consume. It's what the subcontinent Indians. So the majority outside northwestern Europe, the majority are A2, goats, sheep, and all that as well. So it's a small minority, and it's just because the A1 type cows tend to produce larger quantities that a lot of the industry has adopted it in countries, especially the English-speaking countries. And so, yeah. But even A1, if you've got good stomach acid and it breaks it down and it denatures it, you shouldn't have an issue. If you're getting some reactivity, now there is a component, an enzyme, and which is sort of a carrier for a component of both the A version and also there's another one that tends to be in that also transfers a bit of IGF-1 as well. But it's a minor thing. Yeah, so I don't think it's a big issue. It hasn't been historically. I think eventually at some point we'll find out what is causing some of this reactivity in a better way. So you can take it in whatever combinations you like. What's Sky actually saying? Research on protocols did advise A2. I bet they did. Oh, look, in naturopathic doctors talk shit all the time about a lot of things. It's like, if you go back and look at my my chats that I had with Bart about a number of these things, I quite clearly explain how all this nonsense about milk. There's a lot of, first of all, the hormones. Well, we don't have receptors for them, so it's a non-issue. Estrogen, very low, a couple of nanograms, like a couple of glasses of milk, 6 nanograms. We produce men 53,000, women 630,000 a day. So it's the amount that endogenously it just swamps anything in the diet. So every single point that people make is just bullshit after bullshit after bullshit. And if you ferment, like you make it into cheese, if you ferment A1 milk into cheese, you eliminate the whole problem. So it's only in the milk that's the problem. So if you don't come from those regions that had exposure to A1, then it may be a problem. Nobody has ever proven causality or a causal inference. They're just, association, which means absolutely zero. Usually I find that most people that do have an intolerance, it's because they've been doing species inappropriate diets for a very long time, and they usually have intolerances where their grandparents and parents had none. So, or how can it be now the A1 is an issue when it wasn't in the past? So it just doesn't gel with me. I always say you fuck up your gut microbiome with a whole lot of glyphosate and antibiotics, so misuse of antibiotics, and you don't get enough B vitamins in to restore your beneficial bacteria, and then you're in trouble, with a lot of these sort of things. It's just really, we've caused a lot of the mayhem in our bodies. Oh, yes, they would, because they're all crackpots, that's why. I bet it does. Yes, T1 and T2, especially T1, he loves a bit of kefir. Yes, he loves all that microbial stuff. He lathers himself in it. Yeah, the way I feel. They generally advise to lower carbs, and milk has carbs, and the other types of dairy. Oh yeah, people talk a lot of crap out there. I usually say, look, if you're trying to lose weight, and you're not very physically active and all that, you probably shouldn't be consuming a lot of milk. The Maasai are very physically active. Tribal populations that consume milk were very physically active, like the Mongols and many others, and Indo-Europeans and all that. But if you're not very physically active, should you be consuming so many carbohydrates from, even though it is a low deuterium carbohydrate, and that's important because it's not one of those carbohydrates. Most carbohydrates are high in deuterium, which basically damage your nanomotors, actually make it more likely to engage the Randall cycle than anything else, because they're lowering your energy over time. But milk doesn't have that problem. It's because, especially if it's from not grain, from grass. So if it's consuming grass, then grass is a very low deuterium source. So it's a non-issue. So I wouldn't really worry on that front if you're physically active. If you're not, go for the cheese. And if you want the lowest cheese in terms of, we're talking about brie and camembert is the lowest in terms of carbohydrates, next to nothing. And it's all MK4 when it comes to the K2 fat-soluble vitamin. Very good for your bones, very good to remove soft tissue calcification and all that other beautiful stuff. I know you like soggy biscuits. Doesn't surprise me. A bit of soggy kibble, mate. A bit of soggy kibble. Exactly. If you're physically active and all that, yep, some milk carbohydrates are really, really good. Milk will have a far higher concentration of whey, where cheese and stuff like that has more concentration, high concentration of the other types of proteins. So whey protein is going to have that bigger anabolic effect than whatever else. Pure whey is going to have double the amount. So I can't remember exactly how much. It's a long time. How much the ratio of whey to casein in cheese is, but it's in cheese, whey's quite reduced. The whey curds and all that, they usually take that off, and it reduces. The majority of protein would be casein in cheese, which is slow acting. So it's great for after, when you've finished your exercise and all that, you've done your physical stuff, you want a long lasting, the best protein is basically steak, eggs, and cheese. But like before or just straight after the actual work, doing a physical training, milk is great because it will replete glycogen, plus it will give you a massive anabolic effect, but it's sharp, quick and sharp. It doesn't last as long as sugar. It goes up very high and comes down. So it's not an issue, but it actually will push, encourage, facilitate much higher muscle protein synthesis. So, yeah, I usually, when I'm, evening, when I've actually basically done some weightlifting, then I'll have my raw milk right after that. And that's how I basically do it. So, yeah. I think I've mentioned that before, but just for those who haven't heard it before, yes, nothing like a platter of meat, yes. I actually love cured meats. Oh, I absolutely love them. I probably consume quite a lot of raw, cured meats through the week. So yes, no histamine problems with me. Does he now, nurse? You seem to know a lot. These you've been recommending soggy biscuits to Cornell and to T1 and T2 and all that. Is that appropriate? She's not looking after you the way I told her to. Mate, after your your image that you said, that big flapped out, you can't talk. Now, let me put up that image, which I haven't put up the damn image yet. Oh, God. Harry Serpanos and enemy. Love it, mate. Love it. Absolutely love it. I love the enemy version of yes. God, that is muscular. Yes, definitely the right foods to eat. Meat and milk. Yes, definitely. Got a laugh out of T2. Oh, and Shell. I got a kiss out of. Oh, no, that was for Cornell. Give me a kiss for that. Shell, you should give me a kiss. Anyway, let's move on. Back to the dribble. Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. Harry the Fairy. Do you want me to make you a Christmas wish? I upset him. Sorry, mate. Sorry, mate. Well, Shell's happy to be here. Yes, he's a bundle of joy. Thanks, mate. G'day, Melina. Talk to Serpanos. I wouldn't go that far. Prescribes raw dairy to me. Guess what? Almost daily migraine have suddenly stopped. Well, there you go. Good to hear. Good to hear. It's probably some of the B vitamins. That's what it is. You probably... Riboflavin is a big player in energy metabolism. So I find a lot of people, when they actually do raw milk, all of a sudden, migraines, headaches, issues like that seem to just magically go away. And I put it down to basically it's because it's high in two things, B12 and riboflavin. And it seems to be supporting the methylation, cycle. And methylation is really important. So if you improve the methylation of the body and the energy production, what you tend to do is you tend to take away some of these issues, because down deep, I think that, like, you know, migraines have to do something with energy utilization in the brain. You know, there's a problem there, an electrical problem or whatever. So I think that's where it plays a bit of a role. On the other hand, when it comes to, you know, when it comes to basically, you know, I mean, it's all that, because you've got phospholipids in your brain as well, and you know, things like milk and eggs and stuff like that tend to be very high in phospholipids, in the fat soluble vitamins and all that sort of stuff. So all that sort of helps in that regard. And Melina's saying calcium, and calcium, definitely calcium. On most people's deficient diets, some people require, calcium is very important. That's true. And a lot of people are not getting enough, because basically we're not eating nose to tail, we're not eating bones, we're not doing bone broths and stuff like that. And so that's why I've always said to people, you know, eating a steak only diet, it's not going to do it for you in the long run. You've got to get, you know, get nutrients from it's the nutrient density in the animal foods. And that's why I talk about mixed crustaceans. They also have calcium in them. So you can consume crustaceans, milk, a lot of different things to get. But you do require things in there in terms, calcium does play a role. If you're deficient in calcium, you can get headaches and stuff like that, and things like that. But also headaches can come from, you know, issues with your gut system not working properly, especially gallbladder issues. That can actually cause a lot of headaches in people. So there are other related issues as well, but that's because people have not been eating a species appropriate diet for a very long time. But yes, I'm happy that those things are improving. Good to hear. And you got the other information which we've discussed already. So hope you've sort of working on that front. Vitamin D is really important. I mean, you've probably noticed recently I've been doing a lot of these sort of videos to sort of, you know, one which was yesterday to basically have a go at the naturopaths and all their BS on the MTHFR. There's other issues. There's a lot of naturopaths out there that say you should be supplementing in this way, vitamin D, like every week type thing. I think it has to be on a daily basis, because our ancestors would have been out with very little clothing on, out in nature on a daily basis. They were getting a daily dose, varied through the years, yes, but they were getting a daily dose. And so I disagree with that thinking. People are focused on the 25 D3. I usually talk about the 125, showing are you getting good conversion of the active form. So that's the thing that I sort of focus on through the kidneys and all that. But free D3 also is absorbed by everything. And there's also good research to show that the more free, as in free, not bound to 25 D3, but to the protein, but actually as free flowing through. That's why getting every day is really important, or supplementing every day if you can't get out because you're working in an office, unfortunately. So every day sort of getting your D levels. That free goes to a whole lot of other organs, goes to your brain, goes to your reproductive organs, goes to all these other things. That means it doesn't go through the process of D, 25 D3 and then down to 125 D3. Doesn't go through that process of being converted, those enzymatic processes. This is non-enzymatic. It just basically, it's like in mother's milk. Free as in freedom, free D3 actually is something that the baby actually absorbs from the mother's milk in that form, and it actually goes to a lot. In particular, the baby needs, because it's growing a big brain, it needs massive amounts of unbound D3. Once you've grown, you don't need as much unbound D3. I will make a video and explain all this sort of stuff to you guys, how important D3 is. and how all these crackpots have been telling us garbage for a very long time. Yeah, anyway. And I'll explain why people have, issues with cancer, issues like prostate cancer as an example, or breast cancer, and a whole lot of other issues, and the importance. There's also about alopecia. I'm going to do something like that, and MK4, D3, all that play a big role in it as well. There's another part. There's a hormonal and a non-hormonal part. So there's a lot of stuff that you guys are unaware of that's in the literature, a lot of this sort of stuff, but a lot of the crackpots out there, because they think in a reductionist way, are completely ignoring. So I'll get into all that sort of shit eventually. It's on the schedule, so to speak. But as I said, I've got a day job and I don't have enough time. And so occasionally I jump in and do some of this sort of stuff. I've still got a couple of my bacterial ones that I need to do. And I've got another bunch of stuff. Yeah, too much bloody things on my list, unfortunately. Anyway, let's move on. Trying to get my folks all good for longevity's sakes. Stem cell enhanced, yes, they would. Nice and be good starter supplement wise, yep, it would, because it basically it will improve their redox potential, their capacity to generate energy in the mitochondria. It'll also it won't eliminate, but which you don't want, but it'll suppress back to more youthful levels, to a younger levels, CD38, which is an enzyme that breaks down NAD+, which is part of that redox potential that I'm talking about. So yeah, really important to get some niacin in. Don't go too high. Stick to about a 50 milligram, much lower for older people, because they tend to have more mitochondrial damage. Because they have more mitochondrial damage, they can't handle the excess amount until they get slowly their energy production up to a certain level, and then their body starts healing and repairing much better. So don't go to the levels that I go. Keep it much lower, to the 50 milligram level of niacin, and it has to be quick acting. None of this bullshit long acting and stuff like that. That is dangerous to the liver, the long acting stuff. If it doesn't cause a flush, don't use it. Remember, niacin must cause a flush. If it doesn't permeate all tissue and cause a flush, and it's slow absorbing, it is dangerous to the liver. Okay? It needs to go out of circulation. If it stays in circulation and stays in the blood for too long and moves through the liver, it can be a problem to the liver. Okay? It needs to basically be uptaken quickly. So it has to be pure niacin, nicotinic acid. Okay? Make that quite clear. I don't believe in the other garbage. And if you can't tolerate it, use a bit of milk. It seems to actually reduce, I think it may be the calcium or whatever, it seems to reduce that effect of the actual flushing. So yeah, very important. Anyway, move on. Look, stem cell stuff really works. It's, adult stem cells you're producing. It's good stuff in that regard. I can't fault it. I've looked at the research. I'm trying to see whether Dad will jump on it as well, but he's a bit wary at the moment. So probably the price as well as a pensioner. So it's probably what is an issue for him. We'll see. Yes. So you've been overdoing the. Well, good for you. Whatever works for you. Remember, your kidneys are using a large part of their energy to hold on to that salt. So Oh, God. Oh, yeah, I missed the tail end of this, didn't I? Yes. Yeah, look, I love raw meat. I consume a bit of raw meat myself. So I know it's not. I know it's not Bart's cup of tea. He doesn't. He hates raw meat. He just can't. I don't know. He just can't stomach where I love cured raw meats and just raw with egg yolk, mix it up, salt and pepper. Love it. So yeah, look, everybody's their own style. Organ meats, I know I've tried them raw. They're not too bad, but I actually prefer them cooked. It's just me, so I can't do organ meats raw. Yep, basically it's in meats, phosphorus. So basically, and once I've shown that research, you'll realise what I'm talking about. Everybody talks about calcium and other things, but they are wrong. Oh, thank you, StreamYard. You've just fucked me up again. Anyway, I lost all the other stuff, so we'll move on. Sounds good. Making me hungry. What about seafood? Seafood's great. Yeah, they probably would. Look, when we're talking about tribal people, the majority of tribal people lived coastally or along rivers. That's why at some point we started basically, why we lived close to rivers? Because animals come close to rivers. That's how you can hunt them more secretly. You don't have to put as much an effort. Originally, our ancestors, they came out of forests into the savanna areas. They had to, there was more effort. Slowly but surely over time, they realized, all these animals in great vast numbers move closer to rivers to get high, so we can trap them there. We can actually hit them. And then obviously once they got into river systems, they came across other fish and crustaceans and all sorts of things and started adding things to their diet. And we know from the N15 data that this happened. So it's not something that, it's quite clear in the N15 data that there are crustaceans and seafood and all that. And even the types, like I remember when I did the N15 one on the ancient Greeks, and it showed that they actually consumed primarily land animals and a small amount of coastal fish, not deep water fish, but coastal fish, which were close to the coast. So there was a small amount. And the funny thing was that I can't remember now which period, whether it was a Byzantium period or where there was less of coastal. Can't remember. It's a while ago. Well, it may be illegal in South Australia, but you still should be able to get made by cow. Made by cow, the raw milk that comes from New South Wales is the only one that's permissible. So you won't be able to get it from a farmer directly. No, that's still illegal in all states in Australia, including Tasmania, unless you know somebody particular. Say no more. So if you do know a local farmer, then you can access raw milk. But if you don't, you got Buckley's chance, bar this made by cow, which is they put in that device, they put under enormous pressure to break the membranes of those. And there's another one from, what's the latest one? Oops. No, my God, why? You tried feeding a vegan diet to a cat. Oh. Is that the life of a veg tart? Yes. Is it the only moment in life they acknowledge God's existence? Oh God. Hey, my glasses are great. I've got the smaller ones here at the moment. They're here on a regular basis, so I keep them there. But I've got the other ones over there, which I use in the evenings only. And most of my video stuff usually tends to be done after work in the evening, so I'm always wearing the other ones, the Roy glasses. Hey, fashionable, mate, fashionable. What's wrong with you? You don't have to, no T2, no need to contemplate whatsoever. They're just fashionable. Just get with a program. I know you're contemplating about something else. Mouse or frog? Let me guess. Mouse or frog? Mouse or frog? Characters. Yes. Thank you. If you're going to have a bit of fun, you might as well have it at my expense. I'm okay with it. I've got a thick skin, let's put it that way. There's nothing that basically, I've been called all sorts of things in life. And at the end of the day, yes, people can throw insults left, right, and centre. It doesn't really, because at the end of the day, you can't change people's opinions. Simple as that. So you just laugh back. The easiest way, that annoys them even to buggery, I've found. I never argue with anyone. I just take the mickey out of them. You know, somebody's talking shit. I go, oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, there's in South Africa, there's a tribe there. I can't remember their name. They actually ferment the milk and create. They're pastoralists, but they don't have the lactose persistent genes, and they ferment the milk and actually create this sour type milk, and that's what they consume. So yeah, really interesting what humans will do in different parts of the world. I think mercury in fish and seafood, if consumed in reasonable amounts, is easily countered by other foods that contain minerals that chelate mercury. Yep, selenium it is, actually, selenium. That is actually the thing. Selenium is the thing, the chelator. It actually gets modified by an enzyme that turns it into another, which is sort of a protein, which basically has selenium in it, and it's called selenide. And that basically, these are, look, the body's full of metalloproteins. These metalloproteins are used to bind and transport, things like metals and all that. You get them, red blood cells and other parts of the body, at the gut to bring stuff in, minerals and stuff like that. So, and this selenide is basically a good chelator. As long as you've got more selenium, the ratio of selenium is higher than mercury, you've got no problems whatsoever. And if you take a look at tuna, everybody goes crazy. Oh, tuna's got so much mercury, but it's got a shitload of selenium. And the ratio is really good. So not only do you get good levels of selenium for other biological processes, but you get more than enough selenium to basically deal with the mercury. So it's a zero non-issue in that regard. So that's why I say, there's a lot of crack pottery or reductionist nonsense out there, and especially from naturopaths. The majority of this sort of stuff is coming from the naturopaths, not the MDs. The MDs don't really give a shit about this. They're pushing pharmaceutical drugs. Their focus isn't on things like mercury and stuff like that in fish and stuff like that. It's coming from the naturopaths. The naturopathic doctors are all about vitamin pills, pushing expensive pills, and basically using reductionist nonsense to argue against specific foods in terms of mercury and other things. Biggest problem in seafood isn't mercury. Biggest problem in seafood is microplastics. That's what it is. That's the biggest fucking problem. But even microplastics, as long as you don't eat the organs inside, you basically, because that's where they mainly get deposited and also lodged in those parts in the digestive tract. You just rip all that out. Unfortunately, you lose a lot of good nutrition. Then that eliminates that problem. But that's where primarily, if there's any issue, is microplastics. If you can get access to, like fish from the southern hemisphere and other parts in colder climates very far away from civilization, so to speak, from those sort of environments, there's going to be far less microplastics because the plastics tend to be at the surface and not down deep as much. In the coastal areas, they tend to be larger pieces that break off and actually pollute the coastal food supply far more. When you're actually in deeper water, that's less of a problem. It's more of the stuff circulating at the top. And that's where the top predators like dolphins, whales, and stuff like that are more affected by microplastics at close to the surface. So we need to differentiate all this sort of stuff, but keep that in mind. Been drinking 3 litres pasteurised brand made here on my homestead. Yeah, it's unfortunate you can't get raw. That's fermenting milk. Said even Harry agreed. Yeah, look, I've got nothing with no problems with fermenting milk. I mean, cheese is a fermented milk product. But fermenting like kefir, I've done kefir in the past. All my mates do kefir. I've probably been a bit lazy doing any kefir recently, but my mates do kefir on a regular basis. So, yeah, I have to say I do love, it's probably for people that may have gut issues or issues that are coming off a plant-based or SAD diet or whatever, I don't recommend it to them. I first recommend that they fix their stomach acidity by eating more species appropriate foods, getting some supplements, making sure that their gallbladder is working properly, their pancreas is working properly, bring down the insulin levels, do some fasting to literally break the insulin resistance, do those sort of things, and then focus on, fixing and healing the body, and then considering these foods at a later stage. You don't have to rush into things. Yeah, selenium's in eggs as well, not only liver. You get plenty, and certain seafoods, you get plenty in eggs. Eggs are a very good source of selenium. Was ending. Yes, it will be soon. Harry, what's your favorite food for esoteric nutritional purposes? God. On the mineral side, I would have to say crustaceans. And if I'm looking at vitamins, I'd have to say organ meats. Specific types that most people don't consume, like spleen. Because everybody eats liver, kidneys, spleen, pancreas, things like that. We have the kokoretsi thing that we actually combine all the different organ meats and all that. Brains, great, in that regard, so they would be the sort of the less fashionable, you could say, types in that regard. Yes. I'm not really. Oh, okay. Quebec. Oh, French speaking. Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a bit similar. Look, Southern Italians, they were Greek colonies, so they tend to have a, they tend to say, people from Southern Italy, and a lot of them are in Australia and all that, tend to usually say una faccia, una razza, the same face, the same race. Yeah. I know what you're saying, but at the end of the day, that part of Italy, Greece gave up on the Greater Greece thing of taking back old ancestral lands. It's not going to happen in the modern world, and it's unnecessary. So there are a few crazy dreamers in Greece, but it's a very small minority. Oh, I always have a bit of a glitch now and then, mate, when I'm getting into the humorous stuff. You should know that. You fucking did. Selfish, isn't he? So selfish. Planets of milk for the kitty cat. You're lucky she's not here. If Necro Kitty was here, she'd literally rip strips out of your flappers. Literally. Too much information, Shell. But thanks for letting us know. Is it? I've got the coffee here. Nearly finished. Wonderful. Cornell, behave yourself. I think she was quite thorough. I don't think she missed any spot. She did blow you a kiss. There you go. I don't know. Is it species appropriate? Is it raw? The question is it raw? He likes raw stuff. Oh, God. Vivid bows. I expected more from you. That was something that T1 would actually say. Broccoli between the steaks. Oh, God. Deteriorating it again. Yeah, mate. Keep it up. Hey, I'm a more colourful fairy than you. What's Cornell saying? I'll give you more than just a... No, thanks. I'm taken. I'm more than satisfied. Hey, guys, you realise we've got 12 minutes, so get your last-minute jokes, answers, or whatever else in as quickly as possible. Oh, God. God, I had many headaches in my teens at 20. Definitely a lot fewer now. Was it because of a lot of indiscretions? No, I know. I'm just joking. Yes, it's the Melina sort of comment. You're eating a more species appropriate diet. Look, and Amber Ahern, I remember mentioning her last time, and she had, bipolar and resolved all the issues. And, people doing a keto diet, a deep ketogenic diet, like the therapeutic one for epilepsy, but they were also doing it back then, I think in the 30s as well. Some people were also doing it for things like migraine, headaches and stuff like that. It just became less fashionable. See, once the drugs came out and the MDs started pushing all the pharmaceutical drugs for headaches, for migraines, for all this, all the drug companies, promoting all this stuff. A lot of, like ketogenic diets and low carbohydrate diets as a way of reducing things like that became less fashionable. Large proportions of, I've actually found a large proportion are usually gallbladder issues, or digestive issues, because the nerves, when you've got digestive issues and stuff like that, through the vagus nerve, but also through other nerve endings, you usually signal to the brain that actually can cause some of this, or, through the actual back, all these nerves that connect through to the organs, and that goes right through to the brain. And usually I find that I used to have, when I was in my bad, sad days, I suffered headaches quite often. Where now it's an extreme rarity if it happens. It's usually after quite a few drinks. Say no more. Pain felt, yep, behind my eye for the entire life. About 3 years ago, I realised actually pain in my, exactly. Neck muscles, and not even a migraine. Yeah, that can also be an issue. That can also be an issue as well. Yeah. So that's more of a less issue, but it can be an issue. There's a lot of pathways to these sort of ease. The headache excuse doesn't stop. I bet it doesn't, Cornell. God, without a headache, how horny would he be? I wouldn't go that far. You're welcome. Usually from lack of sleep can cause headaches. Yep, that's true. Yeah. Especially when you've had let's say, quite a bit, and headaches and lack of sleep. Yeah, all that kind of stuff can combine. Lifting weights wrong gave me bad headaches from my neck. Oh, yeah, that can be the case. That's true. I know that some people do, like, they do these, I can't remember what it's called, where they put on their neck the actual bar and move it up and down off their neck and stuff like that. And they do these sort of, people do crazy things, or certain positions that are not natural, and they get themselves injured, or some level of low grade injury, which can actually, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yep. This again. Yeah, computer posture. Yeah, I know. I have a thing, I'm not wearing it at the moment because I'm online and all that, but I probably should, that actually straps me and actually pulls my straightens out my back. I usually wear it when I'm doing many hours on the computer or whatever, not for limited amount of times. Or at work, I usually stand now because I've got a standing desk, so I usually stand most of the time, and I find it much better. Yep. You may be experiencing harm from close proximity to EMFs. Yeah, that can be a problem. But it's not from there's no, as I did a thing with Bart a while ago about heat shock proteins and electromagnetism and stuff like that. Nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing. EMF does not cause any of these sort of problems. It's all make-believe by naturopaths and others. What it does do is the blue light. So the blue light spectrum in all magnetic fields, laptop, your electrical wiring in your home, everything that creates a magnetic field, actually part of the spectrum is blue light. So in the daytime, it's not an issue, but at night, when you're bathed in blue light, it actually affects your circadian rhythms. It actually affects your melatonin production. And as a consequence of that, you basically produce less, you don't sleep as well, you don't repair as well, and you don't recover as well. So that's usually the problem. My throat's drying out for some bloody reason. That's the problem with summer, and it's chatting for too long. May need to get a humidifier in here for the summer period, because in winter it's fine. You can do multiple hours of talking and your throat doesn't dry out. But here now at the moment, it's quite dry. This room has massive windows and you get a lot of light coming through, and it does really dry out the environment, I find. And especially when you're talking for quite a few hours, that can have an effect. So I may need to remedy that. Okay, yep. Oh, that bad? Shit. Yes. Look, I'm glad things are improving. Yep. I find that once you get the B vitamins up, not overdosing, and I will do a video and explain exactly everything about the B vitamins and the brain health and all that, and how to basically do the biohack. It's sort of a short-term biohack, and then you get onto the foods and get it from the foods and nothing else. And it's usually people that are in that early stage where they may have issues. Once you're out of that stage, then you go to the foods and only the foods, because high levels can be a problem as well at the other end of the thing. Yeah, look, some people are more sensitive. That's because of you may have very poor redox potential. That means your capacity for your body to detox, also your level of expression of cytochrome P450 in your liver may be low. Mine's very high. So I've got longevity genes, which is very high. People that have got longevity genes have a very high expression of C cytochrome P450. That means they can detox very rapidly. That's another reason why I can drink and not really get drunk very easily. It takes a while, or consume shitloads of coffee, and it doesn't, and the caffeine gets basically cleared out of my system too fast, and it doesn't really have an effect even when I have double shots. So yeah, in that regard. But if you're more sensitive, yes, that can be an issue, and you should keep away from those sort of things as much as possible. Reduce your exposure. Blue light, or the frequency of blue light, or non-native EMFs, and that part of the spectrum is a problem for a lot of people. It's a minority of people, but it is a problem. But it will get worse as we start putting antennas everywhere and LEDs. The LEDs, this is why I've switched away. I've basically, the daytime I will use my LED TV in the other room. I've moved it for where I've got my computer and stuff like that. And in the evenings, I've got a projector. So I've gone over and I've said, no, I'm not going to have blue light in my eyes overnight. I'll use a projector to project onto the image onto a wall, and it's a white wall, so I don't need to have like a special surface type thing, so it's fine in that regard. And that eliminates that blue light exposure level to my skin, where you've got melanopsin on your skin and receptors. So the eyes basically are covered with the small amount that's coming back, reflecting, the small amount is usually cancelled out by and that is another level of basically reducing the level of the destructive effect of blue light on melatonin and DHA. DHA in the eyes actually is very sensitive to blue light. Very sensitive. That's why you should be wearing blue blocking glasses in the evenings. Especially if you're sensitive to these sort of things, you should be wearing blue blocking glasses. I can't say more. It's really important because you need, if you're basically losing a lot of your DHA in your eye, you're going to be basically pushing yourself to macular degeneration. You're going to be causing yourself health problems. If you're that susceptible, you're more at risk. You're higher risk. So get blue blocking glasses. I've provided the information in my past streams. Go check and get some stuff to basically reduce your exposure, because you're probably quite hypersensitive. I mean, I'm not hypersensitive. I could still sleep quite well even before. I sleep much better now with a blue blocking sort of technology that I put in my place. But at the same time, I've also got better detoxification pathways. But why basically utilize all that detoxification to deal with the blue light when I can eliminate it? I can utilize that extra detoxification capacity to deal with other problems in my body. Much better, much smarter strategy for health going forward in the long run. Really appreciate raw dairy and raw eggs. Just don't forget the whites, that can be a problem, so cook them. And so the yolks are fine. I usually have some raw yolks now and then. Now, because they are good for heavy metal detox, after the hospital put that contrast CT. Yeah, I know. God, I fucking hate that contrast stuff that they put in when you do the CT scan. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a real, yeah. I know a lot of people. I don't feel anything. I know some people do. It's probably because of my high detoxification capacity, but still, yeah, I know. I sort of tend to, if you can use for something, I usually say, if you can use basically, a less invasive approach, and there are other technologies out there, so yeah, it's, some of these contrasts can be quite a problem. They can cause some dysregulation in the body. I know that they actually can bind to certain of these metalloproteins in a certain way. We don't have enough science. Because I'm an empiricist. You guys know me. I'm, when it comes to the science. But there is anecdotal evidence that it does disrupt some of these pathways, but we don't have any science. I can't point and say, look, there's a piece of research that I can actually point that can actually support what I'm saying. I don't have any. I've just got anecdotal evidence on that. I personally wouldn't take the risk with some of that. Ultrasound is probably the safest, but the problem with ultrasound is it doesn't cover everything, which is a problem. But, unless you have to use a specific procedure, if you don't have to and you can use another alternative, try use the alternative is what I say. I mean, yeah, but exactly. B vitamins really help with detox, and raw milk is really high in B vitamins, which is good, and so are eggs, and also choline, and a number of other important factors that are in eggs that basically help as well. So selenium being one of the key ones. So yeah, I think that would all help. wrong food and lack of sleep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, both. Sleep is very important. Circadian rhythms, all that. Yeah, it's not woo-woo. There's good science. There's good research and all that. Yep, eggs are great. Eggs are fantastic foods. Yep, yeah, look, it'll clear up a lot of different things. Don't fear the sun, enjoy the sun. And if you've basically coming off a species inappropriate diet, focus on basically trying to get, your fat soluble vitamin stuff up. So organ meats, some dairy fats and stuff like that. Get those fat soluble vitamins up because you'll need them to deal, and in particular, low dose vitamin E to deal with the PUFA, because that can be a problem and can limit how long you can stay out in the sun because it can take 4 to 7 years to get rid of the stored PUFA in your skin. It's a turnover. Some people it happens quicker, depends on which tissues, how long it's been incorporated in that part of the tissue. So you will notice that some parts, I actually, even after now, what is it, a decade or whatever, I still notice that some parts of my skin, even though they're same exposed, will get pinkier than others. And I think that there is still some underlying PUFA still there stored that's basically, even obviously I do stay out for a very long time, for multiple hours, 4 to 5 hours without any sunscreen. But at the same time, even if I stay out, let's say like 2.5, 3 hours, I still notice, even when I'm getting hardly any, like my skin looks white, and then I look at certain parts and there's certain reddish little bits of red here and there, or, the pinky sort of little pinky blots and all that. And I go, it's probably still some PUFA incorporated of the past indiscretions in that part of the tissue. It may be the reason. I'm speculating, but I suspect that it probably is, because most people, when they give up, this is why people are all on, they're slapping on all this sort of creams and all that to protect themselves from the sun, because they burn very easily. It's because the PUFA in there is oxidizing really easy. It's crap that's been incorporated in your skin from all the seed oils of the past. So anyway, I am gonna have to bloody call it a day and move on. What's this? Yep. Vitamin D. Tell him to up his vitamin D, his daily dose of vitamin D. I would basically have him on for about a week, 50,000 IUs every single bloody day for a week, and then drop down to 10,000 IUs. And if he does that long enough, I can tell you he's, the actual, when they do eventually a test, the PCA test is a perfect test. It's a bit of a shit test, to be honest. But when they do it, through his penis and sort of take a biopsy, they will actually notice a reduction. Vitamin D plays a big fucking role in sort of this sort of stuff, so because the things that it does, it actually suppresses, and I'll explain all the pathways and how it suppresses cell proliferation. And once you've understood it, you'll go, oh, we're all fucking deficient because we're slapping all this shit. Oh, that's why we've seen this explosion in vitamin in cancer. Oh, yep, that's one factor. Because remember, the sun also depletes deuterium. There's the deuterium side. There's multiple entries. Wrong diet, not getting enough vitamin D. There's a lot of synergistic Don't think in reductionism, because I don't think in reductionism, but a lot of these synergistic interactions that are basically driving a lot of the pathology. And also, retinol plays a big role as well, because it actually combines, without vitamin D combining with retinol in the actual prostate, it just doesn't work. So it's more complicated. So MK4 is also a player. So when you think about it, yeah, you got to think a lot of the interactions and a lot of the proper functioning of cells is retinol, MK4, vitamin D. So really important for cell differentiation, to suppress proliferation, cellular, and that's cancer, proliferating stuff, So all these things, they work together, the fat-soluble vitamins. This is why a species-appropriate diet is the most healthiest diet. So anyway, I'm going to fuck off because I have to be somewhere else. And it's 10 minutes past 3, or it's, sorry, 10 minutes past 3 hours. And it's nearly 1:45, and I have to be somewhere at about 2-ish. I still need to put a pair of pants on and stuff like that and get the fuck out of here. Anyway, see you guys. Thanks for being here. I had fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next week. Next week, I will have 2. It'll be the Eurasian one in the evening, and it'll be the standard one in the daytime, the standard live stream, this one, next week. I'm actually interviewing somebody, my first interview this week. And, that'll be interesting as well for you guys to see. Anyway, see you. Bye. I'm out of here. And have a great remainder of the weekend or full weekend or whatever. See you.